Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their court.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican police, verbal plumbing.
Is that correct?
Literally not true.
I didn't ask you to interrupt me. Oh, for Trump's sake.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
That's literally not true.
I'm not a child.
You will bring the jury.
I don't want pickles either.
All right, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I'm the Recovery Addict. We're kicking off the part 2 of Friday. Your weekend is getting just a little bit closer, which is great because we've all earned it this week. You've all earned the weekend. Super exciting. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I'm the Recovery Addict. Please take a seat. Come on in. Sit down. Everybody, we're going to kick things off here just momentarily. Let's see. What are we doing here? We've got Chad Daybell down here. We've got... We've got everything else everywhere else. We're good. Daybell is still going on over there. We might have a few people trickling in as they see the notification. So that is just great. Big shout out to Thal, who sent me this water. It says Karma. It says recycle this bottle and it may come back to you as running shoes. Not sure if I want that or not. Is that a threat? Is that a threat? Anyway, welcome. Great to have you all here. We'll also welcome Tisha S. Tisha, congratulations. First in chat with the letter B. Tisha, that means that you have won the internet. And based on the schedule, I'm just saying you might have to work all weekend long as internet owner. You've won once again. Congratulations. You're dancing like it's a party now, but this is work. At least you better treat it like this. It's serious business keeping people connected to the internet, and it's all on you. Anyway, Thal has sent me some Karma water, which I told him I would try on the air. This is berry cherry, and it's cool. I put it in the fridge for a little while. It's cool. It's not like deep chill, but I'm just getting up enough courage to try it. It's hard work being in charge of the internet. You bet it is. All those people connected worldwide. Think of all the satellites for Musk, for Elon Musk. You have to keep running and everything. It's not easy business. That's why we sell for the low fee of 50 cents. We sell a certificate commemorating this occasion, Tisha. So you can download that if you go over to the store tab on our YouTube page. You can find that and download that. And it is suitable for use as a cover sheet on your resume. And feel free to put me down as a reference as well if you're not really interested in getting the job, because I might accidentally think that the phone call asking for a character reference for you is a prank call, and I might treat it in a manner that might not be beneficial for your career. So that's it. Tisha threatening everybody. I'm just going to shut it off for this weekend. You guys will thank me later. Oh, man. Crazy. Oh, man. I'm hearing this a lot. The impact statements are just brutal, are just terrible. And your heart goes out to them. I've got it going. I don't have the audio up right now, but it's been terrible. Speaking of somebody who needs the internet up all weekend, Braxton Heaps, he sent me a picture of what he's doing. He's got like 15 laptops in front of him. He's doing tech refreshes. He says, wait, this means they get to do my job, right? Yeah. Somebody has to do that. Somebody has to, because I think come Monday, all those computers need to be working for the interns. But motion to remove Tisha from her current position. Apparently, some people, Tisha, still want the internet to work. If you can maybe make some exceptions, that would be great. All right, where are we with court? Let's see. Well, we're right here. Bing, right there. They're supposed to come back right straight up at 1 o'clock, which means we have about 4 minutes. That's about enough time to figure out how to use this water bottle. It says, find your good inside. It's got a little tab. I think I pull the tab. It has a tab that looks like it's a pull tab. Guys, if I'm doing this wrong, tell me. If I'm going to make a mess all over my computers here, that would be bad. Apparently you need fingernails, which I don't have. Oh, there it is. Got it. Got it. Crisis averted. Crisis averted. Okay, I'm going to tear this off. A little sticker, suitable for giving to kids or just throwing away. I'll do the latter because my kids are all... Okay, so now we have a plunger button. A plunger button with powder in there. Am I supposed to shake it or anything? We're on lunch break, Beach Bum. We're about to come back from break in any second now. I'm just trying this water for the first time, so I guess let's make it so you guys can see how this works. Can you guys see that? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna push the button and see if anything happens. Ooh, look, it does the thing. It does the thing. It's all turning red. Everything that was colorful up at the top has now fallen to the bottom. I think I'm supposed to shake it because there's a lot on the bottom now. Now it's all colorful. Does it say how long to shake? It's got fine print. I can't read it. We need like bifocals. No. It's got a lot of ingredients. Peel, push, and shake. That's it. I did all three of those things, but I'm not sure if one of them needed... I'm pretty sure I'm done pushing. Done pushing. I'm done peeling. I'm just not sure if there's more shakeage that has to occur. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Caramel water is so good. Does the cap come off, or am I supposed to like drink it through this push top? I don't think that happens. I'm going to try to unscrew it. I don't think it's a drinking cap. It's just the injection cap. Twist cap off. Okay. A very mild flavor. I was expecting an overpowering punch of berry cherry, but it's like you first taste water and then you taste the berry cherry. It mixed very well. At least maybe when I get to the bottom, there'll be like granules, but that's actually good. It's really good. This is more than a hint of flavor. It's more than a hint, but it's not so much that it feels like, Gatorade or Kool-Aid. Definitely not. I wouldn't say it's full of sugar. There's only 5 grams of sugar in there. I like it. I like it. So far, I'm gonna give it 1 thumb up. When I finish the bottle, I'll make sure there's nothing like chewy in the bottom. It's not overly fruity. It's a very mild flavor. I'll send you the link of what I will say it seems ridiculously expensive to me because it's Karma Probiotics water. And I'm only drinking it because Thal got it for me. I know they have like coupons and stuff. Here we go. I'll put it in chat so you guys can see what I'm trying here. That's it. And yes, that's an affiliate link. If you do buy it, it doesn't cost you any extra, but Amazon may give me a tiny token thanking me for sending you to them. Karma water for the win. I'm gonna try it. I've got 3 more bottles chilling in the fridge. I think I'd like it a little bit colder than it is right now. But it doesn't feel like, I don't think it has caffeine. I don't feel like a buzz or a kick from it. Probably should have checked that first. I don't know. I'm gonna need readers for that. All right. Either way, we're about to begin court. I'll bring the counter back on, the Once Upon a Time counter. We have 15 references so far. People saying just how long ago this was, and I'm not sure if I remember correctly. But it's good. Thal's going to buy us all a case, says Weather Watch. Wonderful. Wonderful, Thal. That's super kind, super generous. That's super expensive. Yes, it's super. It's probably cheaper at the store, I'm thinking, because they have to cover the cost of shipping. I imagine buying this at the store is cheaper, but it's supposed to be healthy. I like it. It feels more refreshing than like. It feels more like drinking water than drinking fruit juice. But anyway, there we go. There was my my live on air analysis. I think Thal missed it. Okay. We have more people over on Top Mark than we have here, I think. That's great. They're loving it. But we'll be back here at 1 o'clock to start in about, well, it's 1 o'clock Tennessee time was 3 minutes ago. So any second now we'll start. The judge said straight up 1 o'clock it was going to start. And not so happened. Scottish, so tap water is top tier. I'll stick to that. I only drink bottled water. I like to drink bottled water mostly because I've seen the water tower for the town. And that's it. Tap here is no bueno. Ricky, I'm live. I don't know. I think a lot of people are over on the Top Mark side. I'm not sure if we should tell them. I'm not sure if we should tell them that I'm over here. They're enjoying it. Actually, they're not. It's not an enjoyable part about the trial. But anyone know what Trachona's sentencing was? I thought it was still going. Did they come up with a result there? See, I saw they reached a verdict in the Christopher Gregor trial. I think that's about to be announced. Let's see. Ooh, the Gregor result is in. If you've been following that and you don't want me to spoil it, turn down the volume here for just a minute. The Gregor trial, he was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of aggravated manslaughter and endangering welfare of a child. Jill, you found your way over. A lot of people don't know we're live here. It's cool. It's all right. Longest sentencing ever. Yeah, you haven't missed anything. Well, you would have now, because now Judge is back.
Please be seated.
Here we go. He said it'll be just 1 minute. Judge doing a little paperwork. I think the jury has a ways to walk back as well. $1,000-foot well deep in Arizona's desert. Good stuff. Scott, if I could do a well, that would be great. My problem is I'm in the eastern North Carolina, which is, I think my elevation, is 40 or 60 feet. I don't remember. It's within 20 feet. 40 or 60 feet above sea level. And this whole area used to be a saltwater marsh. That's why we have so many sharks' teeth and stuff found here, like megalodons and all that. I'm just not sure if I can get to a water table before I hit salt water. That's what I'm worried about.
Just 1 second.
The buzz sound is, I think it's a mix between a 60 hertz hum and air conditioner.
Okay.
But that's how the court comes to us. I can turn off my filter.
I'm going to go ahead and tell the jury what our schedule is. Okay.
How about you tell us as well, Your Honor? That'd be perfect. If I turn off the noise cancellation, it sounds like this. It gives this hiss. But I took the tss off. There's just not a lot I can do with this because there's so much noise.
All right, let's be seated. Good afternoon, you all. I would ask you ordinarily if there were any difficulties encountered during lunch, but I'm told that there was a slight difficulty encountered, and you all perceived that you were being filmed by a media representative while some of you were maybe outside or on your way back in. I need to tell you I've taken care of the problem. And the entity involved is being told about it. I've talked personally with the cameraman, and the media entity is going to be involved. They're going to be told about the incident and warned that kind of behavior that should not be broadcast there. If any of us catch it on the news, the gentleman knows what's going to happen at that point. So thank you very much for reporting that. Other than that incident, were there any difficulties during lunchtime? And I hope, is everybody feeling all right this afternoon? Let me tell you one other thing. We've made good progress today, and we talked about early on about whether we would need to convene on Saturday. We've decided to take Saturday and Sunday off there. So when we finish this afternoon, you all go home, and then you'll come back, and I'll remind you again late in the afternoon. I think we're going to try to start at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, 8 o'clock. It's a little bit earlier to try to get everything in and keep ourselves on schedule. And I hope that's okay with you all there. I kind of made that what sometimes we call, I just made a management decision but it was with the input of the lawyers, and they wanted to be considerate of you all having a weekend as well, and so the decision was made based on that. Okay. We thank them as well there. All right, we ready? Okay. Call your next witness then. Two steps.
There you go. You stand up for just a minute. Raise your right hand.
Do you raise your right hand, sir? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated.
You sit in that chair, sir.
Thank you.
Get your hand on. Yes, sir.
You'll stand up. I'll push the chair up against your feet. Okay. You ready? Yes, sir.
I believe our witness is blind.
Okay, good. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. You're Kerry Smith.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and you're a retired physical therapist?
Yes, I am.
Okay, did you ever have the occasion to treat the defendant, David Swift, as a patient?
Yes, I treated him on 2 different occasions.
Okay. First, sir, let's delve back into your background. What education did you receive to practice your profession?
Well, I graduated in 1973 at the University of Tennessee with a bachelor's degree in physical therapy. I worked for a period of 40 years and retired my license in 2014.
Okay, you've been licensed in a number of states, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Okay, tell us what states you've been licensed as a physical therapist.
I was licensed in Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Nevada.
And so between those years you described, after graduation until your retirement a few years ago, were you actively engaged in the profession of being a physical therapist?
Yes.
Okay. And just so the jury understands, describe what a physical therapist does.
Physical therapy is a science that began associating with the medical establishment, that is doctors, and basically they needed a way to treat individuals who had injuries or different ailments physically. They needed a way to exercise them. They needed a way to utilize ultrasound and light, heat, cold, electricity, and they needed a way to habilitate and rehabilitate them. That is, to teach maybe young individuals who've never done a particular activity how to do it, and those who have had an activity or been able to do it and then were injured to re-educate them in how to do it.
Okay. While you were practicing physical therapy, did you ever receive any postgraduate education?
Yes. I had some coursework at Northwestern University in Chicago, primarily on the spine and on prosthetics for the lower extremities. And I had some coursework at Eastern Kentucky University in ergonomics.
Okay. And as part of your holding a license in physical therapy, were you required to obtain continuing education credits to keep your license?
Yes. Each state has different requirements, but I have taken courses in San Francisco, San Diego, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Seems like it's one. Oh yes, Nashville at Belmont.
Can't forget Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever testified as an expert in any court?
Yes, I have.
Would you tell the jury about that?
Yes. I testified for a patient in a suit in which he was suing an insurance company, and I basically presented his situation and my opinion on it to the court.
And were you declared an expert in that case?
I was declared an expert.
Tender the witness will hold on.
Expert witness. No objections.
Does a witness be declared an expert in the field of physical therapy?
I've never heard of an expert witness in physical therapy before.
All right, Mr. Smith, you stated briefly that you treated Defendant David Swift on 2 occasions. Do you recall when the first occasion was?
Yes. The first occasion was, I believe it began around June 8th in 2011. Mr. Swift had an accident in which he injured his left knee region and was referred by the physician to physical therapy.
Do you recall the nature of the surgery that he had?
Yes, I do.
Orthoscopic?
His surgery was a repair to the quad tendon.
Would you explain for the jury what a quad tendon is?
A quad tendon is a tendon that is above the kneecap or the bone on your front of your knee, and the quad tendon is right above it, and it communicates with the patellar tendon, and the action is to lift the leg and extend it straight.
Okay. You know the date? Okay, you told me, you believe it was around June 8th.
I believe that was when we began to see him, but the surgery was actually 4/25, I believe. 4/25, the surgery. His injury was the day before, 4/24.
Okay.
Good memory.
What types of treatment did you provide Mr. Swift when you were?
Well, we were primarily using range of motion, exercise, and isometric and isotonic exercise. And isometric exercise is exercise where the end of what you are working on is moving, and the front part of it is not. And isometric exercise is you're just creating tension within the muscle without movement of the end or the proximal end.
And with a patellar tendon repair, how are those exercises helpful, and what's the goal of those exercises?
The goal of those exercises is basically to strengthen the quadriceps and the hamstring region. And the way that helps is you need those muscles to gain knee function and to lift the foot and the lower part of the extremity.
Okay, and were you successful in your treatment, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it was successful to a point. I do not think there was complete success there, because when he left during the June period, he still had limited range of motion, but it had improved quite a bit from about 0 to 10 to 70 to about 5 to 115.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Did you give him a final assessment at that time?
Yes.
Okay, do you recall what your assessment was?
Well, my assessment was that he was progressing, his range of motion was progressing, his strength was increasing, and that he was ambulating. He was able to step up a 4-inch step.
Okay, when you say 5 to 115, can you explain to the jury what you mean by that?
Okay. Pretend this is a leg.
I love this.
The leg,
Cameraman, help us
this
out
is a knee. All right? The knee will go to 0 degrees. That is straight out. And it will bend in most people ultimately to about 135, 140 degrees. Now, there are individuals who can get what we call a recurvatum, that is, the lower part extends higher
than 0.
And there are individuals who can come back as far as 155, 160 degrees. But usually they don't have much flesh in there, and they're very loose around their joints.
And they're kids.
A typical person of that type of nature would be a person like Michael Jackson, who made all those moves. How did he do it? He was a very loose person in his muscle and connective tissue structure. Dave had been injured, and 5 degrees is about there as opposed to there. And 115 degrees, this would be 90, 115 would be back here. 135, all the way back. Now that is in the knee, translating this to the knee.
Okay. Do you remember whether or not you gave him a quad strength rating when he was discharged?
I believe his quads, when he was discharged, were, I believe, 3.5, on the quad, and no, I believe at that time it was probably 2.5.
Okay.
And on his hamstring would have been a 2.5.
Okay. What does the term ambulatory unassisted mean?
Ambulatory unassisted means you walk without anybody holding to you.
Okay. And then did you rate Mr. Swift as ambulatory unassisted?
Yes, using a knee immobilizer.
I can see my toes. Does that count?
And that is called a KO.
Okay. When you discharged him, was he given follow-up exercises to do at home?
Oh, yes. Almost every visit was given exercises to be followed at home. And David was a very good pupil, and he seemed to follow his exercises. He seemed to progress, and he seemed to understand what he wanted to do. I will say this. He was kind of a pusher. He wanted to go a little bit beyond, what he was doing.
Okay. So after you discharged him there in June, did you have the occasion to treat him again later?
Yes.
Do you recall the circumstances of that?
Yes. Apparently around 10:25, I believe, he was working, and at work he made a step and got a pain in the leg, probably from twisting the knee, and almost fell.
Okay. And how did he come back to? Did he seek you out himself, or was there a referral from a physician?
No, I think he probably saw the plant medical person and was referred to Dr. Joseph Yao in Blytheville, Arkansas.
Okay. And did Dr. Yao refer him to you?
Yes, Dr. Yao referred him to our clinic, and in fact, I communicated directly with Dr. Yao. We talked about the case. I told him what had been done previously, and he gave me instructions.
When the defendant came back in for the second time, did he fill out any questionnaire prior to his treatment beginning?
Yes, he did.
Okay, and what's the purpose of that questionnaire?
Well, it's a thing that we give to individuals who have knee problems or who have had injury like that, a lower extremity functional test.
Okay.
And its purpose is to give the therapist a profile for a baseline for exercise.
Ms. Smith, the bailiff's going to hand you a document. I'm going to see if you can recognize it.
No. I cannot see it.
He has very limited vision.
But it appears to be, are there 20 items on there? Yes, sir. And is there a 0 to 4 ranking on there? It would be at the top.
Right.
Just a second, beg your pardon.
Because of his eyesight, it might be helpful to read it. Some of it.
I'm not opposed. I'm certainly not opposed to that.
Let me bring it back to me.
Thank
read
you.
it to him.
I appreciate it.
It should be read outside the presence of the jury.
Problem if I go through and he just did. Mr. Smith, were you able to see this enough to recognize it as the lower extremity function scale?
Well, yes, the form is the lower extremity functional scale form. It should, down at the bottom, have David Swift, and I should have signed off KHS or whatever, KS or...
And would this have been dated November of 2011?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Smith, I'm going to read the answers that were reported by Mr. Swift and ask if, when I finish, ask if that sounds like what you recall him reporting to you prior to beginning therapy. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The first activity that's listed is any of your usual, the preface at the very top says, today, do you or would you have any difficulty with? And then there's 20 items there. Number one is any of your usual work, housework or school activities.
Yes. And what did he rate that?
He rated quite a bit of difficulty.
Right. So it should have been rated a 1.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Can I keep just go?
You just keep going. Yes,
right,
that's good.
And have you make comment when I'm finished?
Yes,
is that okay?
that is perfectly fine.
Okay. Number 2 is your usual hobbies, recreational or sporting activities. Mr. Swift circled again 1, which is quite a bit of difficulty.
Yes.
The next one, number 3, is getting into or out of the bath. Mr. Swift rated that a 2, which is moderate difficulty.
Yes.
Number 4 is walking between rooms. And again, Mr. Swift rated that a number 2, moderate difficulty.
Yes.
Number 5 is putting on your shoes or socks. And again, Mr. Swift rated that a 2, moderate difficulty.
Yes.
Number 6 is squatting. He rated that a 1, quite a bit of difficulty.
Yes.
Number 7 is lifting an object like a bag of groceries from the floor. Mr. Swift rated that a 1, quite a bit of difficulty.
Yes.
Lifting a body.
Number 8 is performing light activities around your home. Mr. Swift rated that a 2, moderate difficulty.
Yes.
Number 10 is, I skipped one. Number 9 is performing heavy activities around your home. Mr. Swift rated that a 1, quite a bit of difficulty.
Yes.
Number 10 is getting into or out of a car. Mr. Swift rated that a 2, moderate difficulty.
Yes.
Number 11 is walking 2 blocks. Mr. Swift rated that a 0, extreme difficulty or unable to perform activity.
Yes.
Number 12 is walking a mile. Mr. Swift also rated that a 0, extreme difficulty or unable to perform activity.
Yes.
Number 13 is going up or down 10 stairs, about 1 flight of stairs. Mr. Swift rated that a 1, quite a bit of difficulty.
Yes.
Number 14 is standing for 1 hour. Mr. Swift rated that a 0, extreme difficulty or unable to perform activity.
Right.
Number 15 is sitting for 1 hour. Mr. Swift rated that a 2, moderate difficulty.
Right.
Number 16, Mr. Swift, the activity is running on even ground. Mr. Swift reported that was a 0, extreme difficulty.
Right.
Number 17 is running on uneven ground. He also rated that a 0, extreme difficulty. Number 18 is making sharp turns while running fast, also a 0, extreme difficulty.
Right.
Number 19, hopping is a 0,
yes,
extreme difficulty. And then number 20, the last one is rolling over in bed. He rated a 2, moderate degree of difficulty.
Yes, that is what David Swift marked.
Okay.
Now, we scored this, and his score was 20 over 80.
Yes, sir.
Now, you go, why 80? Well, the top you could get is no difficulty, which is 4. 4 times 20 is 80. He marked no higher than 2. So they were either 0s, 1s, or 2s, which is through a moderate degree of difficulty. Now, there is also a 3, which is a bit of difficulty, and there is a 4, which is no difficulty. So the lower you score, the more that indicates that you have a problem in the lower extremity, and if we want to refer to specific activities, we can concentrate on activities that he has the difficulty with. But in his case, almost all of them had some difficulty. So basically, it was what we viewed as a strengthening problem and a range of motion mobility problem, and we tried to treat those things.
Okay. And the date on the bottom of that is November 16th, has already been pointed out. Did Mr. Swift fill that out prior to being treated for the first time that day?
I would say probably not. Or if he did fill it out, probably lost in the record keeping or whatever, because we were not using those forms on every patient every time.
Okay.
So we might go and then we'd use the form, and it is a good way to document for insurance.
Okay. Do you remember us going over your treatment notes on Mr. Swift?
Yes.
All right, Judge, with your permission, the defense and I have agreed to ask Mr. Smith about his treatment notes on the first time he treated the defendant on November 16th, because otherwise we would be here a long time asking him about every row. Okay, Mr. Smith, I'm going to ask you some questions about you treated. I have a note, a treatment note. It's a spreadsheet of handwritten numbers. There's exercises written into the left, and then I believe your initials all on the top.
Yes.
Do you recall going over that with me?
Yes.
Okay, and did that seem like was your recollection refreshed when we talked about it, and we talked about the numbers that were on there?
Oh yeah, pretty refreshed. It was a standard procedure for strengthening with the base that he had.
Okay. If I can read some entries for you, and
yes.
Would you tell me if you recognize them?
Yes.
Okay. Up on the top it says therapist, and I see the initials KS.
That was me. Okay.
And then I see where it says diagnosis, there's an L with a circle around it. Quad and patellar tendon repair, 4/24/11.
Yes.
Late knee or late effect L knee pain.
Yes.
Does that refresh your memory about the?
Yes.
Okay. Does it sound like this was?
Yeah, that L is left.
Okay.
All right, medical terminology.
Right.
Yep.
And then the next line is manual therapy, and again, it just says KS.
Yep.
Now, if you, and what I'm inviting you to do is, sir, when I read something out, if you want to comment on what that means or what that meant for the defendant's treatment, would you just tell the jury what you did for him?
Yes.
And I'll stop talking.
Okay.
So on the next line is ultrasound, and it says no.
Yep.
Okay. Then there's a line that says E-stim Russian.
Yes.
Can you tell us what that means?
Yes. Russian stimulation, it was utilized by the Russians in 1976. They were preparing Olympic athletes and wrestlers, weight men, and they wanted a way to strengthen them without just having to use exercise. So they their scientists came up with a way to do it. They would use a medium frequency current of about 2,500 cycles per second, and they would cross those currents and put the stimulation on and then take it off. And they use various different, like maybe 10 seconds on, 50 seconds off, or 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off. But the stimulation that they were using on those weightlifters and on those strength guys was a very high intensity. And what they found is they were stronger. So
Did you perform, or did you do those types of things at a lower level with Mr. Swift?
Well, definitely with individuals who have pain as a problem, but who have it's used for weakness. And he particularly showed atrophy in the area of the vastus medialis, which was the inside muscle that tore from the tendon.
Now, explain atrophy for the jury, if you don't mind.
Yes, atrophy. Muscle has size. The individual muscle cells form a muscle. If you do not use and move the muscle, the individual cells begin to shrink. They get smaller. So you still have pretty much the same number of cells, but they're just getting smaller, and in between comes connective tissue. Connective tissue doesn't move. It is a connector, and it's stiffer than the muscle. The muscle has a lot of spring. The connective tissue is stiff. So as you can see in the case of David Swift, his knee had stiffness from being probably in the knee immobilizer after his injury, and he had some range of motion deficit and tightening in the end ranges of his motion.
Okay. Now, the next two are pool and strapping, and they're both no.
Yes, pool, that was suggested. David didn't really want to go that route. He felt that his time would be better used in the other modes of strengthening.
Okay. Now, the first set of exercises that I see on there is a quad set. It says 1 set of 10 repetitions at 10 pounds.
No. That is 1 set of 10 repetitions at 10-second hold.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So, in other words, he did 1 set. He did it 10 times, and he held each one 10 seconds.
Okay. The next one is SLR.
Straight leg raise. Now, remember, the quad set is isometric. He's just tightening the muscle, but he's got to hold it 10 seconds. The straight leg raise, he's on his back. He brings his right leg up, and he can put it down on the table. And he takes the other leg and lifts it up about 45, 50 degrees and holds it. And he did that 10 times.
For 10 seconds.
10-second hold.
Okay.
Yep.
SAQ.
SAQ, that's a short arc quad lift. The short arc quad, you put a roll under the knee, have him tighten. He lifts the lower part of the leg and brings it down. It's a limited range of motion movement, and he tightens the quadriceps muscle.
Okay. A little bit farther down, and there's some more, I imagine, exercises like those, but I'd like to bring your attention to one. You have an entry called treadmill.
Yes.
You have written down 1 mph, 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Is that just what it sounds
1 mile
like?
per hour.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did he have any trouble performing that 10-minute walk at 1 mile an hour?
No. Probably had some reduced weight bearing, and that's one reason we're going slow. And as I recall, that was with the knee immobilizer off.
Okay.
Because he had the rails to hold to.
The next two entries are
that would be
connected.
less than the
They are
distance from
leg
his house
press.
to the car with the flat
Yes.
tire.
The
1
first
mile
one
per hour,
says 2
10
legs,
minutes.
1 set, 20 repetitions, 135.
Yes.
Is that 135 pounds?
That's 135 pounds. He is in a sitting position on a unit that slides. He presses and on the plate, and the resistance is the weights. We set the weights, and that's the resistance.
And then the next line is one leg, one set, 20 repetitions, 75 pounds.
That's right. That was with this left leg.
This injured leg.
Yep.
Okay. After you had him perform these therapies on the first and exercises on the first day, did you feel like you had a pretty good grasp of his physical abilities at that point?
Yes, and let me bring out one other thing that he used.
Sure.
Okay. The seated stepper, the new step.
Yes, sir.
All right. The new step he used for 10 minutes at level 2, which is a low level of resistance. And he's pumping the legs back and forth, back and forth. And the thing about the new stepper is it is isokinetic, meaning no matter how hard he pushes, he's going to get that same level 2 resistance.
Okay. And why did you feel like that was important and that we needed to?
Well, I think it was important because endurance is an important factor in strengthening.
And was his ability on that day, did it tell you anything about his endurance?
Well, yes. We usually went from one exercise, short break, maybe most of them 30 seconds a minute, and then to the next exercise. And then once we'd finish, say, the free exercises, we would go to a machine or go to his walking, his gait.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to make these exhibits to your testimony.
All right, that'll be this number 24.
And Sergeant Gray, could you retrieve Exhibit 8A for me? Well, never mind. I'll just talk to him about it. Mr. Smith,
yes.
I'm going to change gears on you here in just a minute.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the area around Bledsoe Cemetery in Dyer County?
Yes, I am.
How are you familiar with that area, sir?
Well, I lived at Pagoda, which is right down below that, and that was the old Pagoda Cemetery. One of my relatives, my grandfather's sister, was married to one of the Bledsoes and was buried in that cemetery. And I attended a funeral for her son. I believe he lived in Alabama, and he was cremated, and they had to get a special compensation to bury in that cemetery. And he was buried on top of his mother's grave.
Oh.
Yes. So,
Fun
you
fact.
remember that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think so. That's not every day you hear that.
No, it was, and it's an old cemetery. I have more than one relative up there
Now we're just
because
talking.
most of the people of that community were related somehow.
Are you familiar with the area where Karen Swift's body was found?
Back to the case. Back to the case.
Yes.
Are you familiar with a little, it's not a paved road, but it's like a pathway that cars use back and forth to go from the Bledsoe Cemetery gate to the cross?
Yes.
And do you know how far that little pathway is from where Karen Swift's body was located?
Well, I would say it is probably to the curve, I would say across from the cemetery. It's probably maybe 65, 70 feet.
Okay, but if you're on that little pathway.
Yeah, all right.
And then
in other words, if you're going up the hill off of the road.
Yes, sir.
And there is a little pathway up there. It goes up to within about 20 feet of where the body was.
Okay, let's shift gears again. And do you feel like from your treatment of Mr. Swift and then having him doing physical therapy exercises with him, that you had a grasp of what his physical abilities were at that time?
Yes, I think so. The only thing that you don't have a grasp of most of the time with patients is what is their motivation and what is, their attitude. Because let's face it, when they're in our clinic and they've been sent there, most of the time they're going to be on their best behavior.
Do you have an opinion that as you saw him as a patient on November 16th of 2011, did David Swift possess the physical ability to drag 125 pounds?
I believe he did.
Okay. Do you have an estimate of how far he would have been able to do that?
Well, I would say with simplicity, probably between 20, 25 yards.
Was that at a time?
That would be 75 feet.
Was that at a time? If he rested, would he be able to do that again? Or is that just...
he wouldn't do it in one time. No. So it would be a thing of a little energy and then reset, a little energy, reset, a little energy, reset. So he would definitely not have been pulling a body 100 yards or that sort of thing.
Okay.
It would have been, if he was close, he had the physical ability to do that.
And what you cannot test for, if I'm hearing you correctly, is motivation.
No, not at all.
Right. You're just talking about sheer physical ability.
He had the sheer physical ability. Now, is that without pain? Is that without I could have damaged myself or whatever? No, he could have, but you can damage yourself in many different ways. So,
okay, I'm going to pass the witness. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
You're welcome.
It sounds like this guy was more helpful for defense than for the state.
Some questions.
Okay.
Judge, can I see the exhibits that were just reviewed? The exhibits?
Yeah, they're
Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
We've talked several times. I'm Daniel Taylor.
Hey, Dan.
Okay.
Hey, Dan. How you doing?
When Mr. Swift came to see you, he came to see you November the 16th of 2011.
Yes.
All right. Before he came to see you, he went to see Dr. Yeo.
Yes.
Y-A-O.
Yes.
And you had the records for Dr. Yeo. You had the records of the referral or some paperwork where he had been referred to you.
That is correct.
And in that, it stated he had been re-injured on 10/25 of 2011.
That is correct.
All right. And that's before October the 30th, 2011.
Yes.
Okay. And that occurred at his job site, Tenaris.
Yes.
And that he, I guess, talked to HR at his job or saw the clinic at his job, and then they made a referral to Dr. Yeo.
Yes.
Dr. Yeo is a medical doctor.
He is an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay. He's got a lot of experience.
Yes, he was trained at the University of California.
Okay. And his determination of the injury was severe enough to be referred to you.
That is correct.
And it indicated that his injury, what was the term?
A late effect.
Okay. Did that mean that it was torn, the tissue around his knee?
Not, I wouldn't call it a complete tear, but what you would have is a person who had, say, a surgery and an injury, and that injury got aggravated by a sudden forceful motion.
Okay. And that's what the records indicated.
That's what, yes.
And that's why he came to see you.
Yes.
And he filled out for your office this lower extremity functional scale that you went through and asked him to rate himself.
Yes, yes.
And you reviewed this, I guess, and then you personally examined him.
Yes.
At that point.
Yes, I did.
After you looked at and examined him, did you find that what he had filled out on his lower extremity functional scale seemed to be to match what you saw, what you observed?
Well, what I would say is when they fill out a lower extremity functional scale, that is for the patient to express how they're getting along or how they're doing, at home or whatever. Now, if the question is, do I agree with everyone in what I observed, the answer might be no, but that is from my point of view. I'm not the guy with the painful leg, and I'm not having to go through the things they're going through. So I don't really feel like that scale is, it is for a profile of the patient. It's not to say that, he wasn't like this, or, he was a lot better here.
Right.
I'd like to be fair about that.
Okay. But it could be consistent with what you and Dr. Ye observed.
Well, he definitely had limitation, and he had pain.
Okay.
That's a fact.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, there's not a ton to summarize on the BK stream from yesterday. It's just it was a fishing expedition for video that there's a little bit that seems to be missing.
Just 1 second.
The defense wants to make it seem, the BK's defense wants to make it
You
seem
were
like that would
interviewed
exonerate him, but
back in
odds are
February of 2018. You listened to the tape earlier.
Law
enforcement.
Yes, I listened to it. I think that interview was 2019.
Oh, well.
I believe. I will not swear to it, but.
You were interviewed before today.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were asked a bunch of questions.
Yes.
And if the records show it's February the 1st, 2018, would you?
I would accept it.
All right.
By the way, that would be 7 years later.
Right, but you still had the medical records that you referred to.
Yeah, they had them.
Yes.
They had them.
And you reviewed that.
And, I definitely reviewed them.
Yes, and you read them, I guess, while they're asking you these questions.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
And didn't you indicate that he would have extreme difficulty walking and lifting that much weight, 125 pounds?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they asked you the question, just lifting that much and moving, didn't you answer, I don't think it could have been done in your interview?
As I recall, they asked me, could he have lifted 100 pounds? And I'm talking about just lifting. And I reviewed the record, and I said, yes, I think a person with his problem and with his particular strength could have lifted 100 pounds.
Right, but lifting and moving a considerable distance would be extremely difficult.
Oh, a carry Lifting and carrying someone and walking and moving is totally different than a lift with a thrust and like a one-time type movement or even a two-time type movement as far as the energy used, but mainly because of the balance problem.
Okay.
Particularly if you have a bad leg.
But wouldn't you agree it'd be extremely difficult to lift and to carry that much a distance?
Oh, yes.
The person in his condition?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe a step or two, but, not just walk a long distance, no. And will you tell them what else I said there?
You said that it would likely be with more than one individual, is that correct?
That is correct.
Right, but you don't know, that's what, in your opinion, what it would be more likely to do.
That is correct. Okay. That was my opinion right there.
Just to be completely accurate.
Yes, let's be accurate.
In fact, you told him in order to be done, it would have to involve more than one person to help him carry it.
I would think so.
Okay. And you indicated here today that to drag something would take a person in his condition 70 or 75 yards, a considerable amount of time to do, regroup, and to go on.
Yes. I don't think a person in David's condition would have just grabbed someone and drugged them 75 yards and be gone.
Well, I understand.
All right, but
well, what you think he might have done, I mean, I'm just asking what, from the medical, what your treatment.
Yes.
You said you gave your opinion just then about that.
Yes, but again, I don't want to create illusions.
Right.
I just want the truth.
Well, I know, but you weren't there, and you're just talking about your opinion about his condition. You're trying to be honest. You saw him. The doctor saw him before you did.
Yes.
And you've given your opinions about what you think he was capable of or not capable of.
Yes.
Okay. And did David Swift continue treatment with you after that date you first saw him?
Yes.
And did he continue to come for a period of months after that?
Yes, he did.
And while he was doing this, and even before, were you aware that he worked at Tenaris and had a commute and also had family responsibilities?
I was aware of that.
All right. In fact, you talked with him at some points about that?
Yes. I simply talked to him about 2 to 3 times a week, is what had been prescribed. And I felt like if he was going back to work and he was doing, had family responsibilities or whatever, you certainly wouldn't try to force a person to come.
Right. But he was trying to get back to work, wasn't he?
That is the goal.
Yeah, but
yes.
And I guess when you see him for therapy after this,
yes,
this is after his wife is missing. You understand that he has responsibility, family responsibilities, and was he very regular over a period of time because of all the things he had going on?
I believe that he came when he could.
Okay.
Yes.
You can say that about a lot of patients, I guess.
Yes.
And sometimes after a while, would it be true to say a patient might just get to a certain level? It may not be the complete rehabilitation, but they'll just kind of stop coming?
Well, yes, a physical therapist or any medical person believes that it should be done just like this. However, if you look at the real world and the patient world, they have a world too. They have responsibilities. They have things they have to do. Now, they do tell us, and we have to either kind of accept it or go, oh, no, absolutely, you have got to be here, or we will have to inform your doctor, or that type of thing. And most physical therapists are not going to do that. They're simply going to try to work it out with the patient.
And David Swift continued coming for a period of time.
Yes, he did.
And you observed him, and you observed his injury eventually over time become better.
Yes.
Okay. And when you stopped, I guess when he got to the point that he stopped coming because either insurance didn't pay or because of his responsibilities, that was several months after you saw him for the re-injury.
Oh, yes, yes. So we saw him for a long period of time.
Okay.
And I will say this, I may be talking too much, but he always did whatever we asked.
Right, I understand.
There was no static with David.
Finish, Mr. Tanner?
Yes.
Redirect, Mr. Box?
Yes, sir. Just to be clear, Mr. Smith, when
Yes.
you were talking about something requiring two people to accomplish, you were talking about carrying a 125-pound body?
Carrying a 125-pound body on rough terrain and sometimes maybe with a slope.
And that's opposed to the question I asked you about dragging a 125-pound body.
Well, they're two completely different things.
Okay. That's what I thought. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And are you aware that after you saw him or for the re-injury that he eventually had to have a second surgery?
Yes, he told me that one day when he came to check on the insurance thing. And he told me that he had been diagnosed with a meniscus tear.
Okay.
And that...
Is that in the same leg?
Yes, it was in that
same
leg.
General area?
It was in that leg, yes.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, sir, you are ready to step down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Get down from the podium, okay?
Just cheer over. Okay.
Got my arm. There's your step. Okay. Now you got one more. Okay.
I'm leaning to my right like I'll get a better view as he walks off the screen. Good witness. Good witness. I think he was very fair.
You have a witness we can get in before we take a break?
Yes, sir. I believe the next witness is relatively short.
Okay.
We have a really short witness
okay?
coming up. We'll need the booster seat.
Mr. Bailiff, can you retrieve...
I'm thinking more of myself than I am of you all, frankly.
number 6 right there that's marked for identification?
I heard a lot of what I'd say is women's voices on the jury laughing.
This is an agent that participated.
Maybe it might have been people in court, but interesting if there are a lot of women on the jury, how they're seeing this.
This is the original SD card from the pictures that were taken that day, and that he recognizes that all of these pictures were on that SD card. They are all on that SD card. In addition, he personally recovered that computer. Yes. And put it into evidence. And this photo is one of the ones that's on the SD card, and there's just a slide below that. That's all that's in the testify about.
Ready to call your witness?
Yes, sir. David Howell.
David Howell.
Yes, sir.
Or David Howell. It's just a David. It's another David. Not David the defendant. It's a different David. He's got a file. Looks like he might be an expert.
Yes, sir. Sir, you're David Howell? Yes, sir. And you're a special agent with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation?
Yes, sir.
And were you an agent back in November of 2011?
Yes, sir, I was.
Did you participate in the execution of a search warrant on 65 Willie Johnson Road in Dyer County, Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and were photographs taken during that search?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how were they recorded?
They're recorded on SD cards.
Okay, and are you in possession of that original SD card?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. Did you bring it with you today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you
In Tennessee, the witnesses
several
bring the
photographs.
evidence.
The top photograph is a photograph that's previously been entered for identification only as the Exhibit 6. I'm just noting that for the record. Okay, and then do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, sir. This came as a result of the search warrant.
Okay, and look at the remainder of the photographs, if you will, please. Okay, and do you recognize all of those photographs as being contained on that original SD card in your possession?
Yes, sir.
Ask you to make those an exhibit to your testimony and move Exhibit 6 from identification into actual evidence, Your Honor.
Okay, Exhibit 6 will now be admitted into evidence.
Okay, and those photographs, did you see a picture of a computer, a laptop computer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and was that a gateway computer?
Yes, sir.
And did you have any role in securing that as evidence?
Yes, sir. I collected that from the search warrant.
And from your possession, where was it taken?
It was given to the technical service unit, Joel Wade.
Can I interrupt you just a second? Were there additional photographs that were admitted into evidence along with 6?
Yes, along with 6.
Okay. So the additional photographs, Helen, are they being marked as 25? Okay. I'm sorry.
That was fine. I was at the end. Absolutely.
That was it. We just need those pictures.
Archer, you can step down, free to go.
I think I had a gateway computer. It was right. Was it before or after I bought a totally awesome computer from a very interesting store? Store owner was named Superdell.
All right, why don't we take about a 10-minute recess for everybody. Remember, don't discuss the case and don't form or express an opinion. All right.
All right. Amiga. Ooh, that's an old one. I never had those. The oldest computer I remember playing on. First off, at home we had an Apple IIe knockoff. It was a Franklin computer, which I learned a little bit of BASIC on, and so I'd write some programs that would just make cover the page in words. That's all I could do. But I did play a few games on there. I remember sticking the floppy disk, the 5 1/4 inch floppy disk in, closing the drive, locking it down, and telling it to run or load. I'm not sure if it was load or run a program, and then you'd go and you'd make a sandwich, and you'd eat the sandwich, and you would talk to some friends, and you'd come back, and it should be loaded by then. So that was fun. I played like some Olympics games on a monochrome green screen. Then getting a little older, my friends had a Commodore 64, and oh my goodness, with all those colors on the screen, it was heaven. Watching that, I remember my favorite there was a game. I think it was a version of Excite Bike, where you ride a motorcycle on a 2D course, and you're jumping cars and riding on top of things. You can pop wheelies and jump, and that was it. But so I think it was load and then run. You have to load it into memory and then run it. Took forever to load. Running wasn't very fast either. But anyway, Commodore 64, that was heaven. That was dream come true. And then when let's see, before the Commodore 64, I think, when did the Atari come out? I don't remember the timing with the Atari. It might have been close to that time. I had to have friends that had these things because those computers were expensive. The start of the addiction, yes, it goes way back. Deep roots, I tell you. Very deep. Even the Commodore 64 took a while to run things. By the time I was in high school, we were playing Doom and Duke Nukem on the computer lab computers during lunch. And the computer lab teacher had no idea that we ran that network. We had control over everything. The poor guy, he was he had worked in the military, actually in the government, doing computer work, but all his stuff was like daisy chained networks that were daisy chained together. And here we had this first new network that was not daisy chained, and my friends were smarter with computers than I was. And they actually helped the school. They were hired to help the school build the network. They had all the passwords. They had all the access. The school had no idea. I remember going to the school on a weekend. My friend, also my age, had access to the school. And we went in and we logged into the... I might be confessing a crime here. Let me think this one over. What's the statute of limitations for... well, he had permission, so it was good. We logged into the network, the school network, the grade system. And I remember moving my cursor across my different grades and thinking, I can correct these right here. But I did not. I did not make any changes. I barely graduated of my own skill and efforts. If you said a Commodore 64, remember them loading cassette tapes? Wow, I thought they were on 5.25 inch floppies. No, there might have been. No, they might have had a cassette drive. I think you're right. I'm not joking. We did that. We did not change our grades, even though that friend graduated near at the top of his class. He was that smart. Our class. He was that smart. I was smart as well. I just didn't like doing homework, so I had to do a little more summer school to reach the graduation threshold as far as credits go. But we did set up all the computers to run all our games. And so we'd go in on lunch and we'd play before school, after school, we'd go play in the computer lab. And it was not any computer work. We were all playing, networked computer games, and it was a blast. It was just fun. To harass that teacher, which I feel terrible about now, we would program the computers to, at boot up, run a small file that would play a very high-pitched sound that our teacher's hearing aids could pick up and would magnify. And he thought his hearing aids were going bad, but we would have all these, and the pitch is so high that it's hard to pinpoint the location. And we'd use the built-in speaker beep tone duration. There it is. Yes, that is it. But we'd build it into when it posts, when it loads. Yeah. So we do that, and then we do different pitches, and it would, like the harmonics. Oh, it was so much fun to play with. And he'd be walking around trying to find where it's coming from. He's checking his hearing aids and everything, and we would all just be dying laughing. I remember the day he brought in a scanner. It's the first time I'd ever seen a scanner. It was a handheld scanner that you take and you drag it down, like with a roller, like a mouse. But it's like a 6-inch wide mouse with a little light. You drag it down over the picture, and then you move it over, and you drag it down, and it seams the picture up very poorly. Yes. Yeah, I've got ham radios. I have multiple ham radios. Anyway, good times. Good times. High school was great. I should make a donation to my school as an apology. Maybe I'll buy them a computer. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah. My poor teachers. Except for the one. She deserved everything that came to her. She was a piece of work. I've told you that story. All right. Where are we in the court case? Here's where we are. We're on a break. It's 2:15 in Tennessee right now. So we have Couple more hours of court tonight. I'm not sure how late the judge is going to make the jury work. He's told them they have tomorrow and Sunday off, which is great. They get a weekend. They're not sequestered, which is great. Unlike the Daybell jury, who is sequestered till the end of that case. It should be over probably next week, early next week. But was there an actual female at the land party? Of course. There's some really smart girls. It's just whether they want to put up with the really nerdy boys. I think some of the girls were a lot smarter than us, and they just pretended like they didn't know what we were doing to make us think that we were cool. My wife would steal school lunches and make a donation as compensation. There was one time I demonstrated to people how to bypass the change machine on a soda machine, how to get the soda to come out without adding coins, without ruining anything. I demonstrated a technique I had picked up, and we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that because somebody in chat might have been there, and I'm going to be really careful with what I say right now. Oh my goodness. Oh, here comes the raid. I'm just gonna time out random people. Don't take this personally. I just don't want you responding to this story because I know you have details that can get me in trouble. So this was long time ago. Long time ago. In a land far away. Oh my goodness. Are you texting me about it? Nope. All right. Don't know how long this break is going to be, but we've had just an interesting slate of Eric. Is Eric here? Not sure if Eric's here. I don't think he knows these stories. I don't think Eric knows. He's not one. Anyway, it's now a compliment to get timed out. I never did anything like serious. Growing up we had some crazy books. There's some books that were like there were books that taught you how to do various nefarious skills, everything from building booby traps to beige boxing. And I never committed any offenses with the phone like that, because those are felonies you can really get in trouble for. A cookbook, yes, it was a cookbook for a certain group of people. It was considered a cookbook, although the recipes in there, I don't think any of them were edible. Sarah, I think you have the same book. Nope. The closest I got to this, I had some fun with payphones. But most of what I did on a payphone, because my school had my junior high had a payphone out front. Payphone, for some of you who are newer, it's like a corded phone that's locked in a box, and you have to put money in to use it per call. I know most of you know what that is, but a few of you probably have never seen a payphone. There were ways to get around it, because you could make collect calls from a payphone, and it was not a real human on the other end. It was like a computer. So you would pick it up, you'd say, I'd like to make a collect call, and you put the number in, and it would connect you. And there was a computer. There's a computer that connects the two parties, and it's like, you have a collect call from Mom, practice is over. Come and get me. I'll be in front of the school. Bye. And that was my name. And they're like, would you like to accept the charges? No. And so we would use that for communications that way. My name would be whatever the message was. But there were other ways to mess with payphones as well that involved a paperclip. What's a coin? MD Thomas. Had a baby, it's a boy. There's a commercial did this. Yes. You ever used a whistle to make a call? We used tape recorders. You could use your phone credit card number to charge a phone call while on a payphone. I didn't have any credit cards back then, even phone credit cards. Did you see the remix video of the KR vehicle in the Sallyport with lighting adjustments? I saw a screenshot of that. Teresa, I haven't looked at the actual video yet. We're waiting to see that. Waiting to see where that is. I'll have to watch that. Probably over the weekend I will. Phone cards were such a scam. I have had a phone card, come to think of it. It was a really thick one, thick plastic. I briefly had a pager, but nobody wanted to call me. I mean, I just thought it would be something cool, but I'd be the only person that paged myself to just make weird messages on the screen. All right, we're coming back here. Yes, Judge Simpson went viral. Somebody actually mentioned it in court, I think either this morning or yesterday. And he says he's seen enough of himself, and he's not too happy about it. I don't think. He deleted yesterday while we were watching his videos. He deleted 2 months worth of video on YouTube. The Apple Card is a bulletproof protection for your butt. Is if you wear it if you keep it in your wallet in your back pocket. It can deflect a projectile. Judge Simpson on the news in Australia. The funny thing is there are better clips of Judge Simpson than that one. We've had just some wild moments in his court that are just hilarious. And that's the one that went viral. I think it went viral because it hit the AP wire, and everybody just picks it up because you've got a free news story that you can just plug in a day while you're just waiting for news to happen, and so it just got picked up by everybody that way. It was this morning. Some said it was nice to be in the presence of a celebrity to the judge. Judge Simpson, in some cases, does not allow people to use his content. In other cases, he does. That's all I'll say there. We're back from break, sort of. Judge is talking to the judicial assistant. The attorneys are talking to each other. Ivan, I think the problem is, I believe it would be a conflict of interest, or at least it would be a problem if he monetized his channel. And he probably is frustrated that other people make money off him working. But that's part of what being a public servant is. You work for the people. Amy Lee, we don't have Chad's sentence yet. I believe that's going to happen. It's still going on right now over on the Top Mark Media channel if you want to jump in. I believe we still have victim impact statements happening. That's my understanding. Probably we're probably looking at early next week for the sentence. We have a loud hum because we have to crank up the volume to hear everybody. I can turn it down, but the hum comes from court. There, is that better? I turned it down 3 decibels. I can turn it off. It's the court feed right there. It's not my system. It's the feed from the court. But if I turn it off, we'll miss when they turn the audio on and they actually start talking. Can you see? The judge is like, can you hear me now? No? About the treadmill case, I think that that reached a verdict. I have not heard... well, actually I did. It was not guilty on murder, guilty on the manslaughter one. Amber says, can you call Virginia Beach Department of Correction and tell them whatever inmate is calling me has the wrong number? I'm so tired of these calls, but I feel bad. Brother man just wants his one call, but it ain't me. Take the call and do it 3-way. No, actually, I don't think they allow 3-way. Tell them you're recording it as well. And maybe give him the burner phone number, Amber, if he just needs to talk. Sentencing is August 2nd on the treadmill case. I'll turn it down a bit so the buzz is not as present. Why do you think Simpson deleted content? He's done it several times, usually right after he goes viral. But there's actually for a brief while he stopped streaming. If you look at Michigan 14A, if you Google the court webpage, there's actually a note on the webpage from, I don't know, a couple of years ago where they announced that they're not going to stream anymore on Zoom. The note's still up, even though it's really old. He's been streaming a lot since then. Somebody's whistling as they work.
All right, let's be seated. One jury I had, there was one gentleman on it, and he refused to sit down until I sat down. Everybody else would be sitting down. He said, I'm waiting on you. Thank you all for doing that. You ready to call your next witness?
She's got an armload of reports. And a badge. Is that a T badge she's wearing? Does it look like a T badge? Do you guys know what a T badge is?
Yes.
I'm off. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. And you are a forensic scientist supervisor at the Jackson crime lab of the TBI, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of education do you have to have that position?
You have to have a bachelor's degree in a natural science or forensic science.
And do you have one of those?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in criminal justice.
Okay. Did you join the TBI out of law school, or excuse me, out of college, or how long have you been with them?
I've been with TBI 9 years. I worked for 6.5 years at the Mississippi Crime Lab doing forensic serology. I worked for 10 years at the Arizona Department of Public Safety Crime Laboratory in Phoenix, Arizona. I worked as part of a specialized program that was sponsored by the FBI, and I did a specialized type of DNA testing there for 10 years, and then I moved to Tennessee, and I've been here 9 years doing serology and DNA.
So I'm not really good at math. What's your total number of years being a DNA specialist, so to speak?
More than 25 years.
Okay. And have you testified in court as to DNA findings previously?
I have.
Do you know about how many times?
Probably all told about 40-ish, and that's in Tennessee and other states.
Okay. And were you accepted as an expert in forensic science?
Yes.
Do you wish to vote aye? All right, Ayden.
He said, I've had experience with her before, no objections.
Have the occasion previously to examine certain items that were sent to you by the Dyer County Sheriff's Office or the TBI in the case of Karen Swift's death?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have your reports with you on those?
I do.
Okay. If you could... Now, first, just so we understand, can you just give the jury, and I'm sure most of them have a good idea because of the current state of television, but just a broad overview of what DNA is and when you get an item, how you test it, what you're looking for, and that sort of thing.
Okay. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the building blocks of what makes us who we are. It codes for things such as eye color and hair color. There's a portion of DNA that we can test in forensic testing, which is part of what I do as my job. When an item of evidence first comes to us, we first look to see if there's any blood, semen, and saliva. Those are categorized as serology type tests. We also can swab and test for touch DNA. If we decide at that point we can go further with our testing, that's when DNA comes into the mix. DNA testing can be performed through a series of tests with the ultimate end, if we're successful in obtaining a DNA profile that we can do comparisons to.
Okay, and I noticed in your report there are some exhibits that are labeled buccal swabs. Can you tell the jury what a buccal swab is?
A buccal swab is something that looks like a Q-tip swab that's used to swab the inside of a person's cheeks. That is to obtain DNA. And what I would do with that is take that, run it through the series of DNA tests to obtain a known DNA profile. In order to do a comparison of the DNA that we don't know who the donor is, we need a known DNA profile to run so that we can use that to compare to the question or the unknown DNA profile.
Okay, and in this case, I see there's quite a number of buccal swabs. And were those submitted to you by law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't know the involvement that person might have in the case. You just know that this is buccal swab from person X. Is that correct?
On the piece of paper that's submitted to us, that kind of line items what's being submitted, it does identify to us to some degree who those people are, like victim, subject, law enforcement. So I do have an idea.
Okay. Let's look at, if you would, your first forensic biology report, which was issued 4/28/20. And for your edification, would you tell me what Exhibit 12A is?
12A is a toothbrush from the bathroom of what I have listed as 65 Willie Johnson Road.
Okay, and was a DNA profile previously obtained for that?
Yes.
Okay. And the next one is from Carol Johnson.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just going to run down the next ones. You received buccal swabs from Deputy Brandon Alexander, Wyman Brassfield, Bill Bona, Kathy Bona, Defendant David Swift, John Hogshuter, Virgil Wingard, and Alejandro Hernandez.
Correct.
Okay. So those are those all standards that you would have in your system so that if you tested an item and were able to find usable DNA and also put that in your system that they would match somehow and you would get an alert? Or tell us how that works.
So if buccal swabs are tested, they are put through a very similar process that the question or the unknown, where we don't know the donor of the DNA profile. We would do a series of tests in the laboratory to generate a DNA profile from each one of those. Once you do that, then you can do a side-by-side actual visual comparison. So it is a manual comparison that's done by a person like me versus something that's done in a computerized system at that given point to do those comparisons to say, does this person, are they included or do they match that profile?
And so this was your first involvement in the Karen Swift case, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so the profiles of from the buccal swabs I mentioned, they were previously obtained or developed by another TBI scientist?
Yes.
Okay. Is that something that TBI scientists normally rely on each other? Once a profile is created, it's in your system and you can use it interchangeably?
It can be. I was not at TBI when the buccal swabs were originally tested. When new evidence came in, it came to our Jackson laboratory, and then I kind of stepped in and did the testing from there. I have to look at that point and see if I'm able to develop a profile on the new stuff that I'm testing. Can I use the buccal or the known profiles? And it looked like that I either had the profiles or I had enough of the sample left that I could continue the testing if I needed to at that point.
Okay. Now, going back to that 42820 exam, let's look at Exhibit 63A. So shoes from a dumpster. Okay. Were you able to obtain any information, relevant information from that?
I did obtain information, and I can provide, well, I tested different areas of the shoes, and each one I have listed as a different, or a DNA result, and I can go through each one if you'd like, or talk about specific ones.
Well, let's just cut to the chase, if you would. Were you able to obtain any identifiable DNA from any of these items?
The one area that I was able to do a comparison to was only of quality enough for me to do exclusionary purposes. So I was able to do a comparison on one area of the shoe, which was the left shoe outside sole heel area. And I was able to exclude the DNA profiles, those known profiles, as being a contributor to the profile that I obtained from that particular area of the left shoe.
And that would include basically everyone you had a profile on, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to your test of July 31st of 2023 that was issued on July 31st, 2023. You had the same, obviously being a couple years later, you had the same profiles in your system, is that correct?
I still had the same known profiles available for comparison purposes.
Okay, and in this case, you testified a number of items: a comforter from the dumpster, a dumbbell that was from the 65 Willie Johnson Road, a pair of black rubber boots, a pair of polka dot rubber boots, one roll of plastic sheeting from the dumpster, and one black barber-style case. Were you able to test the comforter and determine if there was any evidence?
I did. I tested the comforter for the presence of blood, so that would be characterized as a serology type test, a precursor to DNA. The presumptive chemical testing that I performed on that comforter did not indicate the presence of blood. I also looked at the inside material of the comforter, so I physically cut it open and looked at kind of the stuffing part of it, and visually it did not indicate the presence of blood staining.
Okay, and when you tested the middle of the comforter, did you swab that area? How did you test that?
Are you talking about the stuffing?
65A, I'm sorry, going down one.
Okay, 65A is a dumbbell.
Okay, I'm sorry, excuse me, I thought we were still on the comforter. So that's the middle, when you're talking about middle, that's the middle of the dumbbell where the hands would be.
Correct.
Okay, please continue.
I tested the middle of the dumbbell. I swabbed that area. This is where it would, based on the condition of the dumbbell, I decided to go ahead and swab it and just take it straight to DNA. The one of the steps where we determine if there's enough DNA to continue on was inconclusive for the presence of human blood. So basically, human DNA. So that tells me at that point in time, there's not enough DNA for me to continue my test, and I don't do anything further. There was also, I tested each end of the dumbbell separately. One of the ends, I swabbed it in a similar manner that I talked about for the middle, and it was inconclusive for the presence of human DNA as well. And then the other end was also swabbed, and it did not indicate the presence of human DNA.
Okay. So let's move on to 66A, which are the black rubber boots that were obtained from the dumpster. Did you find any evidence on those items?
The right boot, I tested the bottom, back half, and top half. What I determined from that is I presumptively tested it for blood, and it was positive. We have another test that we can follow up, and I was not able to perform that test because I didn't have enough sample to do that test and be able to continue on with DNA. So I decided not to do that secondary test and take it straight to DNA at that point. I obtained a limited DNA profile. I was able to tell there was at least one male present, but because it was limited, it was inconclusive to do any kind of comparison. The right front half of the boot, the presumptive chemical testing for blood, it did not indicate the presence of blood, so it was negative. I did not do any testing on the inside of the right boot. For the left boot, presumptive chemical testing indicated the presence of blood. Presumptive the secondary test, I was not able to perform to determine if it was human blood because there was not very much sample there, so I saved it to do DNA. And when I did do DNA, a limited DNA profile was obtained, and because it was limited, it was inconclusive to do any kind of comparison. The inside of the left boot, I did not do any testing.
And why did you not examine the insides of the boots? Was that at the request of law enforcement?
Typically, when we test the inside of the boot, it's for the wearer or the person that has worn or owns the boots. And what I tested in this particular case, I focused on the outside of the boot for any any blood that may or may not be there, and possibly any touch or transfer DNA.
Okay, and the last three items on the exhibit list are a pair of polka dot rubber boots, plastic sheeting, and a barber-style cape, and no examination was performed on any of those items. Can you tell us why?
I believe, I could check my notes, but my recollection was I talked with the agency, and it was determined that I did not need to test those items.
Okay. Now, the last report that you issued in this case, and perhaps the most important for our case, is the panties from Karen Swift's body that were recovered and from the medical examiner's office. Did you do an examination of those items? That item?
I did.
Okay, and tell us what you found on those.
So for the underwear, I tested them for the presence of semen. This was a serology test where presumptively I performed a chemical test, and it was negative for the presence of semen. I also presumptively tested them for the presence of blood, and it was also negative. I then swabbed certain areas of the underwear for touch DNA, and that included the sides, the front, the crotch, and the back. I swabbed each one of those areas separately and then ran those through DNA to see if there was any DNA present. For the sides, the testing was inconclusive for the presence of male DNA. For the front, there was no male DNA. For the crotch, there was no male DNA, and for the back, there was no male DNA.
When you say that the on the sides it did not meet the detection threshold, can you explain a little bit further on that? What does that mean? There was some male DNA on there, you didn't have enough of it?
One of the tests, our DNA testing, within the DNA testing procedure, one of the tests that we performed tries to determine how much DNA is present. And it helps us downstream to know if we have a lot of DNA, not enough DNA. And what it told us is that it was inconclusive, which means it was a very, very small amount of DNA that we have determined that if it is not enough for us to go forward with it.
Were you able to determine the type of DNA that it was? Like, was it skin material? Was it blood? Was it saliva? Was it semen?
From my testing, it was the underwear and those areas were negative for blood, but we don't have a specific test for touch or skin DNA, so I couldn't say.
Okay. Jim, I'm going to hand you your 3 reports, and I just ask you to review them and make sure they are complete and correct.
Yes.
Would you make those an exhibit to your testimony?
Pardon?
Would you make those an exhibit to your testimony?
Yes, I do recognize these 3 forensic biology reports authored by me, each individually dated with the date that they were issued.
Ask the witness.
Do we need to mark these separately, or you
Just a collective is fine.
So basically no DNA evidence that's useful.
26?
Judge, I think
You need these?
if I could, whenever
Yes,
you're
sir.
ready.
No, go
Yeah.
ahead. I didn't mean to hold you up.
Oh, it's all right. Thank you, sir. Agent, law enforcement determines what to send you based on what they view as relevant to the case.
I would say that they have the option to submit from their case what they choose to.
Right. And so that's what you test.
What is submitted to us is what they are saying line by line that they wish to have tested.
None of these, the testing that you did indicate or implicate David Swift.
I was not able to obtain a DNA profile to do a comparison to that matched or was consistent with David Swift.
And where these items came from, whether they be a dumpster in another state, you're not sure. You're just relying upon law enforcement to send you what they deem important.
Law enforcement did submit items from a dumpster, and if memory serves me correctly, I was aware that they were from a dumpster from another state.
That the public had access to, or do you know?
That I do not know.
Thank you. I'm making you move a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You can step down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We can call you next week.
Charles Hard.
I'm not hearing these witness names. They're so quiet. Charles somebody, maybe? Ooh, he's got a pin. He's got a pin and possibly a bag. Looks like another expert. FBI? TBI?
I do. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, he's got all the files.
So you are Special Agent Charles Hardy,
I am.
and you're with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
I am.
Can you describe what you do at the Bureau?
I have been employed by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation since 2000. For the first 12 years of my time at TBI, I was a DNA casework scientist, and since middle 2012, 2013, I moved into our DNA databasing unit, which is where I've been since. This case was actually one of the last ones that I worked while I was a casework scientist.
Okay. And please describe for the jury your education that preceded your employment with TBI.
I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry. I got that from Auburn University. I also have 2 years of graduate studies at Vanderbilt University in the pharmacology department. I did not actually finish that degree. I left early to pursue a career in forensic science. But that education actually was geared directly for what I did as a casework DNA analyst.
Okay. And have you testified in court before as a DNA analyst?
I have. I've testified across the state of Tennessee over 70 times.
Okay. And were you declared an expert
Yes.
by the courts in those cases in the field of DNA testing?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Okay. Tender the witness is an expert in forensic biology DNA testing. Okay. All right. So I understand that, Agent, you had several occasions to test items in the Karen Swift murder case. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. Let's first turn our attention to your report issued 11/4/2011. Do you have that with you?
I do.
Okay. And would you tell the jury what were you doing there? What were you testing there?
For that report, again dated November the 4th, 2011, there was a 2004 Nissan Murano that was submitted to the laboratory for examination.
Okay. And I see online it says results 01. Numerous stains labeled A to W were noted on the submitted vehicle. Do you know who labeled those stains, A to W?
Those stains were labeled by me. The vehicle was brought to the laboratory, and my supervisor at the time had a conversation with our assistant director to look at the vehicle before it was, I guess, sent to the unit as a whole for testing. I just happened to be the one who got to test it. So as I examined the outside of it, I would just label stains as I went around it.
You said, are you talking about the outside, or is this the interior?
This is the outside.
Okay. And did you, in fact, test those stains that you labeled?
So as was mentioned, I had stains that were labeled A to W. I did not actually, testing was not conducted on every stain that was on the outside of the vehicle. Anything that had what we call a reddish-brown appearance would be labeled. It's sort of a generic red stain. Blood stains can have a reddish-brown appearance, so we put a label next to it. I actually tested, sorry, let me back that up again. I actually did test each of those stains with a presumptive color change test for blood. It's something that we call a phenolphthalein test, and for the court reporter, that's PHENOLPHTHALEIN. That test, blood has a property within it that will
There's
cause
a lot of
that
pHs in it.
chemical to turn into a pinkish color in the presence of blood. So all of those stains were actually tested, and they indicated the presence of blood, meaning that that test was positive. But only a small subset of those stains were taken for further testing.
Okay. Does phenolphthalein sometimes give false positives?
There can be false positives at times, yes. Okay. It's a very sensitive test.
Okay, so did you start testing a certain number of those?
As I mentioned, those A through W all were tested with the chemicals for a chemical color change test. We have additional tests that we can do to look for stains of human origin, and those require a different test.
Okay, and did you perform that different test on any of the stains?
I did. Only stains B, G, O, S, and T were tested. Well, those were tested for human origin, and they failed to indicate a stain of human origin. Those were tested separately. I collectively tested 3 additional stains, which I had labeled K, I, and L. Those collectively being tested also failed to indicate human origin.
I know it's been a long time, but do you recall why you selected those 8 stains to test as opposed to the others?
I looked through my notes this morning prior to driving here just so I would be able to refresh my memory why I chose those stains. The stain number B was found on the driver's side door above the handle. Stain G was on the driver's side rear quarter panel near the gas tank. Stain O was the passenger side rear panel above the tail light. Stain S was the rear passenger door above the striping. And stain T was the passenger side door above the handle. So looking at those stains locations and the pictures, I took a sampling around the different locations of the car. And then K, I, and L, the ones I collectively did. One was off the trunk, one was off the bumper, and another was off passenger side high on the rear panel. So if you look at the back of the car, that passenger side quarter panel, it was actually closer to where the trunk lid, the hinge would be, and the top of the window.
So with 8 negative tests, you discontinued further testing?
Yes, after getting negative results on that sampling, I felt that testing, what I could do at the time was adequate. So the report was issued, and should any further testing have been requested, I would have gone back and done that.
Okay, let's move on to your report from 10/23 of 2013. I believe you tested a hammer that was submitted to you.
Sorry, I'm getting all my reports. Yes, it was exhibit number 55-A, listed as a hammer from tool drawer.
And did presumptive tests indicate the presence of blood?
On that one, presumptive tests did not indicate the presence of blood. I indicated in my report that I did swab, take a swabbing from the head and the handle, and those were stored with the evidence, but no further testing was done at that time.
Okay. Now, as I understand, the bulk of your testing was from the inside of the Murano and then other items that were submitted to you.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And your first one is from, well, actually, there's 3 of them, aren't there? But some of them contain information, duplicate information.
Yes, I have 3 reports remaining. The first report is from June the 13th, 2012. I have a report from July 9th, 2012 and October 3rd, 2012. The 2 follow-on reports are when additional standards were submitted to the laboratory. Okay. And I think one of those also had a couple of additional pieces of evidence.
Okay, because it looks like at first maybe you had John Hogsshooter and David Swift were the subjects, and then later on you added some other, I think we heard these names before, Alejandro Hernandez, John Hogsshooter, and Swift, and you also added Virgil Wingard.
Yes, sir. Those typically the subject names are going to be added by someone in evidence receiving, so they were follow-on individuals added to the report.
Okay, so let's go through what you found. Let's focus on the Murano, the items that were found in the Murano, and go from there. I think those are contained in Exhibit 1 and then have subsequent letter numbers with that?
Yes.
Okay. Can we go first with 1B, which was a pair of sunglasses from the Murano?
Excuse me. Yes, Exhibit 101-B is listed as sunglasses from the 2004 Nissan Murano. The results that I had for that indicated that I indicated the nose pads and the arms of the sunglasses were swabbed for DNA testing. I got a positive result for human DNA, and reading from the report, a DNA profile was obtained, which is consistent with a mixture of genetic material from 2 individuals. Major contributor is an unidentified female that I listed as female 1. The minor contributor is consistent with the female profile from exhibit number 12-A, which was a toothbrush from bathroom of 65 Willie Johnson Road. And that in turn matched the partial profile obtained from exhibit 48-A tissue that was taken from Karen Swift.
Tissue from Karen Swift, was that obtained from the autopsy of her body?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so do you have an interpretation of, in layman's terms, what that means as far as minor and major contributor of the sunglasses?
So in layman's terms, on the sunglasses, again, I swabbed the arms and the nose pad. I got a mixture of 2 people on that one. What I call a major contributor was from a female that I don't know who it was. I didn't have a standard to compare it to. And the minor contributor is from essentially Karen Swift. To give you a description of what minor and major means, think of a bowl of M&Ms. Everyone likes M&Ms.
Oh man, he's got my attention.
I like M&Ms. As an Auburn graduate, I like to use the colors orange and blue. Forgive me for that. If you have a bowl of blue M&Ms, that is 1 person. If I take that bowl of M&Ms, let's say it's got 200 M&Ms in it, and I pick up a handful of 50 orange M&Ms and throw it in that same bowl and mix it around some, you can look at that bowl and go, hey, there's 2 colors, but there's a lot more blue than there is orange. The major contributor is the blue. The minor contributor is the orange. So essentially, when I say major and minor, think of that, is that you can easily see there's more of one person's DNA than there is of a second individual.
2 people wore those sunglasses, 1 more than the other one did.
2 people were in contact with that, be it wearing it or handling it with their hands. But yes, 2 people's DNA was on that.
Okay. Let's move on to 1C. This is the single-use toothbrush from the 2004 Murano.
My exhibit number 1C, again, I swabbed that one for DNA. I got a limited amount of DNA off that item, meaning I didn't get a lot of DNA, is what limited means. The results as I read it is a DNA profile was obtained from this exhibit, which matches the female profile from exhibit number 12A, toothbrush from the bathroom of 65 Willie Johnson Road, which again matches the tissue sample from Karen Swift. I also stated that an additional allele was noted at a specific locus, which is D5S818, and no further interpretation was conducted. So again, think of that bowl of M&Ms, blue ones, and now 1 orange M&M just got into that bowl. I can't tell you where that orange one came from. I can just tell you that there's an extra allele. There's an extra tiny piece of DNA that was in that.
Okay. Now let's move on to 1E, which is you swabbed 4 areas of the Nissan Murano: the steering wheel, the gear shift, the turn signal, and driver door inside handle. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell us what you found on the steering wheel.
On the steering wheel, again, I found human DNA. And to read from the report, a DNA profile was obtained which is consistent with a mixture of genetic material from at least 2 individuals. Major contributor matches the female profile from exhibit 12A, toothbrush from the bathroom of 65 Willie Johnson Road, which matches the partial profile obtained from exhibit 48A, tissue from Karen Swift. The minor contributor has visible alleles at a specific locus, and that is at D3, S1358, FGA, and the gender marker amylogenin. Based on the limited data available, Exhibit 33A, which is Wyman-Brasfield, is consistent with being a potential source for the partial profile of the minor contributor. And then it gives a statistical statement, which I can read if you want me to.
No, that's okay. Moving on to the gear shift, was it a similar type situation for your analysis of the gear shift?
It is similar. In this case, though, I have, well, actually, let me just read the results. I don't want to speak out of turn. A DNA profile was obtained which is consistent with a mixture of genetic material from at least 3 individuals. None of the following can be excluded as potential contributors to this mixture. And those 3 are Wyman-Brasfield, Exhibit 33A, the female profile from Exhibit 1B, the female I labeled female number 1, and then also going back to that female profile from Exhibit 12A, which is linked back to Karen Swift.
Okay. So the female who touched the glasses or wore the glasses along with Karen Swift also touched the gear shift?
Correct.
Okay. And also, there's been testimony that Wyman-Brasfield was a tow truck driver involved in this vehicle. All right, the turn signal and lights, I think, is a little bit different. Can you tell us what you found on the turn signal and lights?
Turn signal and lights, that swab, again, I'll read from the report. A DNA profile was obtained which is consistent with a mixture of genetic material from at least 2 individuals. The major contributor matches the female profile from Exhibit 12A, which is linked back to Karen Swift. The minor contributor, a male, is visible at loci D3, S1358, and D8, S1179, and is unidentified. This profile does not meet the criteria for submission to the CODIS database for forensic unknown samples. So to explain this one, I got a mixture of 2 people. One, the profile that matches back to what we've used as Karen Swift's standard, and also an unidentified person at 2 locations on the DNA that we test.
Now, you had enough to determine it was male, but not enough to determine who the male was?
That's correct.
Okay, and do you know what kind of material this was on the turn signal that you were testing?
I need to look at my notes. From the pictures in my notes that we took out of the vehicle, it appears to be just sort of a standard plastic cover on the turn signal.
Okay, well, what I was asking you, I'm sorry, I was inartful in asking the question. Was this a saliva, a blood, a tissue sample that you recovered?
So that sample would have been primarily composed of skin cells. So imagine, well, I see a lot of us, you and the jury are like me and have glasses, and how many times we handle our glasses. So anything I swab off the sides here are going to be cells that come from my fingertips. If you have a pocket knife, same thing, a pen. Normally I would have a pen if you use the same, well, you all have a pen. You could swab that pen with a cotton tip swab, and you're going to be collecting mostly skin cells that are coming off of your fingers and are being mixed with the oils from your fingers. So it's not saliva. It's probably not blood. It's just going to be basic skin cells.
Is there any way of telling how long that DNA sample had been on the turn signal?
We not to my knowledge, there's not a way of dating a sample like that. No.
If it's touched, it could be there until something else touches it or something cleans it, something like that?
Right. So that's exactly right. So if someone gets in the car, handles if you have a car that you drive all the time and you're handling all the gear shifts and the knobs and the steering wheel, and no one ever comes in behind you and I swab it, I should find your DNA profile. If you have a son, a daughter, a friend, a husband, a wife, and they get in the car after you and they drive the car, and I go back and I swab it, I would probably expect to find a mixture of you and them, with them being the minor profile. Now, chances are that they're going to knock some of your cells off. Basically, they're going to mask it with their DNA that they're putting over the top of it. But it's not just going to fall off. If you don't touch the car again for a year, keep it in a climate-controlled area, not in the sun and the heat and the humidity of Tennessee outside, in your driveway. You should be able to go back a year from now and still swab it and get a DNA profile.
Okay. Let's move on to 1H and 1I, which are both cell phones which were recovered from the Murano.
Yes, 1H is a Verizon cell phone. 1I is an LG cell phone. And on both of those, I swabbed them both for DNA. 1H, the Verizon cell phone, the ear area and the keyboard were swabbed for DNA. Reading from my report, a partial DNA profile was obtained, which is consistent with a mixture of genetic material from at least 2 individuals. The major contributor is an unidentified female, which I labeled as female 2. The minor contributor is visible at locus D3S1358, and due to insufficient or degraded DNA, no further interpretation was conducted as to the source of that minor contributor. 1I, which is the LG cell phone, the back, sides, and the mat area around the ear speaker were swabbed for DNA analysis. A DNA profile was obtained which matches the female profile, female 1, that was seen in Exhibit 01-B.
Okay, so far we have Karen Swift's DNA in the vehicle. We have female 1 and female 2.
Correct.
We're surprised you to know that Ms. Swift had 2 daughters that the standards were not obtained from.
I was actually not aware that she had 2 daughters, but it would make sense.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. So let's move on to 2A, 3A, and 3B, which is a jacket that is described as coming from Little Levy Road, pants from Little Levy Road, and belt from Little Levy Road. Were you able to find DNA on any of those?
Exhibit 2A, which was the jacket, I swabbed the collar and the wrists of that exhibit, but reading from the report, tests failed to indicate the presence of human DNA. I attempted to obtain a DNA profile anyway, and no DNA profile was obtained. Exhibit 3A, which was the pants, inside of the waistband, the zipper, and the button were swabbed for DNA. Tests indicated the presence of a limited amount of human DNA. And I obtained a DNA profile from an unidentified female, which I labeled as female 3. I had 1 locus that was inconclusive due to insufficient or degraded DNA.
Okay, so I'd like to draw your attention to that. So the pants that are described to you as being found from Little Levy Road, this is a new female that you've discovered.
Yes, this is a 3rd unidentified female.
And none of this female's DNA was not found in the Murano.
No.
Correct? Okay. All right. Let's move on, if you would, to 21A, 22A, 23A, and 24A, which are all either cell phones or parts of cell phones recovered from the area of the defendant and the victim's home. Let's start with 21A, if you will. Did you find anything on that exhibit? First, tell us what it was, and then did you find anything on that exhibit?
21A is listed as a Motorola cell phone battery for Willie Johnson Road. extended, EXTD. That was 21A, and the results, I swabbed that item for DNA, and testing indicated the presence of a limited amount of human DNA. However, no DNA profile was obtained due to insufficient or degraded DNA.
Okay.
22A was a cell phone cover from Harness Road. I also swabbed that item for DNA, and I got no DNA profile due to insufficient or degraded DNA. And 23A is listed as a Verizon cell phone from Harness Road. The outside of the phone and the keyboard area of this phone were swabbed for DNA analysis. The outside of the phone got a limited amount of human DNA. Further analysis resulted in a limited DNA profile with alleles visible only at locus D8S1179. And due to insufficient or degraded DNA, no further interpretation of this limited profile was conducted. The keyboard of that phone, again, limited human DNA. However, no DNA profile was obtained from the keyboard of that phone.
And lastly, on 24A.
24A is listed as an iPhone from Harness Road. The outside edges of this exhibit were swabbed for DNA analysis. Testing indicated the presence of a limited amount of human DNA. However, no DNA profile was obtained due to insufficient or degraded DNA.
Do you recall testing that item?
Vaguely.
Did you have your notes on that?
I do. That was 24.
And the reason I'm asking is your description says you only tested the outside edges.
Yes.
Why you didn't test the front screen of an iPhone?
It could be. If that item was shared with latent fingerprints, then they would have examined part of it. I'd need to see if I did. Okay. The item as I described it in my notes, the packaging contained one cell phone. The front of the phone was broken and fractured, and the back was missing. The outside of the phone was swabbed for DNA.
Okay, so you were not able to extract any DNA from the shattered face of the phone?
I actually did not swab the fractured face of the phone. I swabbed around the outside of, if this is the cell phone, this whole face was just fractured a lot. So I caught the edges of it that were least fractured, hoping to catch any DNA that might be present. And honestly, if I'd swabbed over all the broken parts of it, I think it would have just torn the swab more than I could have really swabbed things up.
Okay, thank you. Let me see here. All right, can we move on to Exhibit 29A, which is a swab from the molding in the living dining room entryway of 65 Willie Johnson Road.
As you indicated, my Exhibit 29A was a swab for molding in the living and dining room entryway, and the results were that presumptive tests indicated the presence of blood. Further testing indicated the presence of a limited amount of human DNA, but no DNA profile was obtained due to insufficient or degraded DNA.
Okay. Now, you did perform an examination on item 30A, which was a pillowcase from the upstairs left bedroom. Do you recall why?
Let me consult my notes on that one also. I don't have any notes on 30A because I didn't examine 30A. I do not know why I did not examine that.
Okay. Well, there's no evidence to talk about then.
Yes.
On Exhibit 31A, which is a bedpost from the master bedroom at 65 Willie Johnson A, did you examine that?
Yes, the 31A bedpost from the master bedroom, presumptive tests failed to indicate the presence of blood.
So let's move on, if we could, to 41A and 42A, which were both swabs from the garage floor of the defendant's home, 65 Willie Johnson Road. What did you find there?
41A, presumptive tests indicated the presence of blood. However, further tests failed to indicate the presence of human DNA. An attempt was made to obtain a DNA profile but was unsuccessful. Additional testing was then conducted and failed to indicate a stain of human origin. So I conducted 3 different tests, one for blood, one for human origin, and one for DNA. And of those, only the chemical color change test for blood was positive.
Okay, and did that also, same situation occurred in 42A, the other swab from the garage floor?
That is correct. The results were the same on 42A.
Now, have you ever encountered swabs that were presumptively positive for blood, however you weren't able to obtain DNA from them because they had been cleaned in some manner?
In my years of testing, there were more than a couple of occasions where something would test positive for our color change test that we used looking for blood, but nothing else would come up from it. Cleaning an item could be a reason why that could occur. Some cleaners can give you a false positive for phenolphthalein. The stain itself, if it's been cleaned or an area has been cleaned, the color may still be there, but nothing left in the stain may be present.
Have you ever specifically encountered a stain that was cleaned with bleach?
I have had occasion to work crime scenes that have definitely been cleaned with bleach in the past, and yeah, bleach and blood stains don't go together very well.
I was going to ask, so does that interfere with your ability to obtain DNA from a suspected stain?
Bleach is used in the laboratory to actually clean surfaces of contaminating DNA. So anything that would have been cleaned, if something was cleaned with bleach, I'll phrase it this way, if something had been cleaned with bleach, then that definitely would interfere with any downstream testing.
Okay. Let's move on to item 43A, which are swabs from the bottom side rear passenger of the 2004 Murano. Can you tell us what you found there?
43A, sorry, I got lost flipping my pages. Swabs from the bottom side of the rear passenger seat of the Murano. Presumptive tests indicate the presence of blood, and further testing indicated the presence of human DNA. A partial DNA profile was obtained with alleles visible at loci D3S1358, VWA, D8S1179, D7S820, TH01, TPOX, CSF1PO, and D16S539. This partial profile is consistent with the female profile, female number 1, which was seen in Exhibit 01B. And can I take this opportunity, every time I've read out a series of letter number combinations, we have specific areas of the DNA that we look at when we try to obtain a DNA profile. And each of those that I read out represents a specific area of the DNA that I'm looking for. At the time of this testing, we looked at 13 areas of the DNA. So each of those areas would have its specific name, such as VWA or D8S1179. So each time I read one of those, that means it's only that specific area that I see something or I can only get something from those areas. So 1, 2, 3. So in this case, this partial profile was only visible at 8 of the 13 locations.
How many are required to be considered a match or a partial profile?
Well, partial profile is anything less than the full 13. If I have a partial profile that I'm comparing to a known standard, and even if I have, for instance, 8 of the 13 locations to look at, if I have a full standard to compare with, and each of those 8 matches up, then that's enough. I mean, if it's 5 that could be matching up, then it's at least consistent with that it matches that person.
So in this case, we're back to female number 1 who was also touching the glasses and touching the gift shop.
That is correct, yes.
Appears to be her blood.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay, let's go to 44A. No, let's skip 44A and 45A. Let's go to 47A, which is another swabs from the garage floor of Willie Johnson. What did you find in 47A?
For 47A, presumptive tests indicated the presence of blood. However, further tests failed to indicate a stain of human origin. And so my testing would have stopped at that point.
Okay. Am I correct? And that's the end of that report?
That is the only item remaining was just the
tissue from
the tissue that was used as a partial standard. So.
Okay, so DNA has been like zero help to us. Zero.
Okay, and can I draw your attention to your, hold on 1 second. Okay, 2 more items. Can I draw your attention to your July 9th of 2012 report? Okay, do you have that?
I have that,
okay.
Yes.
Now, Exhibit 50A are the fingernail clippings from the victim, which were obtained from the medical examiner's office. Did you perform a test on those?
Yes, those fingernail clippings were tested for both the presence of blood and for human DNA. And to read the results, the nail clippings from both the right and left hands were submitted under this exhibit number and analyzed separately. For both sets of nail clippings, presumptive tests failed to indicate the presence of blood. However, further tests indicated the presence of human DNA. And then on the report, I have a statement that says I attempted DNA at all the locations. And then the results for that are, for both sets of nail clippings, the DNA profile obtained matches the female profile from exhibit number 12A, toothbrush from bathroom of 65 Willie Johnson Road, which matches the partial profile obtained from exhibit 48, tissue from Karen Swift.
So the only DNA associated with the fingernails are the victim herself?
That's correct, yes.
No foreign DNA was found?
Only one person. So a bowl of blue M&Ms, and that's it.
Okay. And then the last item I'd like to draw your attention to is in your report of October 3rd, 2012.
Yes.
There was an Exhibit 51A, a small sledgehammer from Harness Road. I think you have to go back a couple pages to get to that. It's on page 4 or 5.
Yes, sir, I've got it.
Okay, could you tell us what your examination of that item was?
So for Exhibit 51A, which is listed as a small sledgehammer from Harness Road, the head and the handle were both examined. The submitted exhibit was soiled over most of the surface of both the head and the handle. The head of this sledgehammer, the visual examination of the head and handle failed to reveal areas of staining, and additional presumptive testing of the head failed to indicate the presence of blood. The handle, from a relatively clean area of the handle, a sample was taken for DNA analysis, and tests indicated the presence of a limited amount of human DNA. Due to insufficient or degraded DNA, a partial DNA profile was obtained, which is consistent with a mixture of genetic material from at least 2 individuals. Exhibit 53A Virgil Wingard is inconclusive, while exhibit numbers 32A, Deputy Brandon Alexander, 33A, Wyman Brasfield, 34A, Bill Bona, 35A, Kathy Bona, 36A, David Swift, 37A, John Hogshooter, 54A, Alejandro Hernandez, as well as the female profile from exhibit number 1B, which is listed as female 1, the female profile from exhibit 1H, which is female 2, the female profile from exhibit 3, which is female number 3, female profile from exhibit 45A, which is listed as female 4, and the female profile from exhibit 12A, toothbrush from bathroom of 65 Willie Johnson Road, which matches to Karen Swift, can all be excluded as contributors to this mixture profile.
Okay.
They can all be excluded. I thought they were all included. So basically, it wasn't anybody's that we know.
I'd like to hand you your reports, if you would, and just make sure that they are correct and complete.
Thank you.
I like how the tow truck guy got wrapped into all this.
Yes, sir. They appear to be there.
Did you make them an exhibit to your testimony, sir?
Sir?
I'd like to move them into evidence. I was asking if you make them an exhibit to your testimony.
To be admitted as Exhibit 27.
Pass the witness.
You missed nothing
Mr.
exciting.
Taylor, before you begin, we're going to take a stand up and stick up break.
I want to pass that up.
The jury has, for the jury, it's a wake-up break.
I used to go to a meeting where they'd say, stretch on your way up and stretch on your way down. How you do that, I don't know, but very carefully, I imagine.
There we go.
All right, we can sit back down
get
and
limber.
Tyler can get started.
Yes, sir. Just a little bit longer. Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes, sir, please.
The car that was processed, the 2004 Nissan Murano, are you saying that it was taken to the TBI lab to be processed?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So it was transported there, and it was brought to your office in Nashville, or?
Yes, sir, it was brought to the Nashville Crime Lab.
And were you I guess you as an agent decide what to test in the car? You thoroughly go through the car, just different areas, and you take the swabs?
Yeah, when an item like that, a car is brought to the lab, typically, depending on what examinations are requested for that, be it microanalysis, latent fingerprints, DNA, we will collectively come together. And in this case, I know, looking back over my notes, I noticed that not only were there multiple units, but I had multiple scientists from my unit with me. We had 2 new scientists in training that also assisted with that. So you are correct. As we examine the item and inventory it and collect samples, we are deciding as we go what we feel will be the best evidence to collect at that time.
So do you look at areas of access that you think will most likely be touched in operation of the vehicle in the driver's seat and passenger area?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. And then you have the entire car, and you go through the trunk, you go through the back seat, you look at the tires, you look at different parts of the car, and you determine what's going to be swabbed or tested.
Yes, we aim to look at every part of the car that we can. We also look at what the statement of facts would be in the case that, there may be items of the car that wouldn't necessarily make sense in that scenario. But we definitely we have an extensive inventory that we create from looking through the car before we start collecting anything.
And if there's a suggestion that the car was used to move a body, you would look at areas where that might be possibly located.
Yeah, ideally, again, based on statement of facts in an item, in a case rather, excuse me, we definitely would maybe give closer attention to an area than others. I've had cases where, that's exactly the scenario, is that someone suggested the body was transported in a car, and so we focused a lot on the trunk area at that situation.
Were any samples taken from the trunk area?
Let me look back at the notes. I don't think we did, actually. I don't see anything.
No samples from the trunk
at
area?
the end of the inventory that would. Let me look at our submittal. The car was vacuumed. We collected cell phones. There was a tire that was collected from the vehicle. I do not see on here that any swabs were submitted. That we submitted swabs from the trunk area.
And if you had noticed a stain in the trunk area or the passenger area, would you have rear passenger seat, would you have done a test, done a swab?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. But you don't show any record of any of that being found in this car?
I'm not seeing any additional swabbings of that sort that were on that chain of custody, no.
Okay. Was any swabbing done of the tire? Did you remove a tire?
I do not recall us removing the tire. I know I did not test the tire. And I do not have any swabs from the tire.
Were all 4 tires on the car when you examined it?
Yes, all 4. There were 4 tires on the car, yes.
Okay. And was it like, did they bring it into like a garage where you tested it?
We have, we actually have 4 vehicle bays at headquarters lab, so that we're able to examine and inventory vehicles in all weather. So normally what happens is not normally, almost always, a tow truck driver will come in and bring in a vehicle. We'll meet with someone in evidence receiving, and they will, sign off on the chain of custody. That vehicle will then be moved into the vehicle bay so that we can examine it. And I do not recall, and looking at the pictures, I didn't see that vehicle was missing any tires, that all 4 tires were on that vehicle.
Right. And so the vehicle was moved into the bay?
Yes.
Okay. And you examined whatever you thought was relevant?
That's correct, yes.
This process takes hours or days?
It's definitely hours. Sometimes, since we have it at the lab, we can come and go as we need to. I've had vehicles that have taken us a week to process. I don't think that was the case with this one. We probably got it done within a day.
Okay. Just a couple other things.
I'm not sure how the jury can convict here. We're going to need a little more evidence.
The prosecutor asked you about bleach and blood, and you indicated that those are no-nos.
Yes. As I mentioned before, that bleach is something that we use when we clean our examination areas. We have a 10% bleach solution that we use first. And we do that because we know that bleach will degrade any potentially contaminating DNA that may be on the surface. So when I say bleach and blood are no-nos, I know that if you have blood stains and you were to use bleach to try to clean it, that is probably the best. One of the better solutions that you could use to try and degrade DNA. And it's just a really good cleaner.
Let me ask you this. If bleach was used on your counter at the lab to clean off blood or DNA, could it eliminate the presence of blood?
That would be the goal.
Yes.
If we had a blood stain on the surface that you're wanting to clean it, we're cleaning the surface before we examine something else. So yes, it would. We would eliminate any stains that we see.
All right. Swabs were examined and you testified about from the garage floor near the right door.
Yes, sir.
And from the bottom side, from the garage floor right of Willie Johnson Road.
Yes, sir.
All right. And you did indicate that there was a presence of blood, but you said not of human DNA.
Yes. Again, the color change test that we use when we look for blood was positive when I tested those swabs, but there was no human origin.
So are you saying it was possible animal blood?
I am saying that whatever was on those swabs caused the chemicals we use to test for the presence of blood to react positively. It could be blood, it could be something else. I just know that whatever was on that swab reacted positively with the phenolphthalein, but there was no human origin. There's nothing there. Hold just 1 second. I want to make sure I give you the correct wording on this answer. That's a little close. Sorry about that. Presumptive tests indicate presence of blood. However, further tests failed to indicate the presence of human DNA. Yes. So human origin actually and human DNA tests are two separate tests that we can do. In this instance, I did not find anything of human origin or human DNA. But again, whatever was on those swabs caused that chemical color change that we look for when we're testing for blood stains.
Not human.
But the swab came up not human.
What are your counters at the lab made of?
I couldn't tell you exactly what the material is, but it's a really hard type of epoxy. Actually, they just had to replace a lot of the bench tops in the examination area. Over the years, all of the work and the cleaning, it bleached it out from a nice dark deep green to white.
Is it a porous substance or porous material?
Not terribly porous, no. And it's that way so that things don't soak into it.
Okay. And would cleaning your countertop differ from cleaning concrete?
I would probably clean concrete differently than I cleaned that countertop.
Well,
Yes.
is concrete a more porous substance than your countertop?
Oh, yes, definitely.
All right, sir. You can step down. Thank you very much, sir.
Am I released to go back to Nashville?
Release your witness.
Released to go back to CrimeCon?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
I don't know if he's going back to CrimeCon.
Pack this up outside.
He's like, it's okay, I'll put it away outside. Yes, M&M's.
Today. We have one more witness today. Sure.
One more witness today?
No. Yay or nay? Okay. You need a break? Would you mind taking a restroom break? Do you mind? Okay, we're going to be in recess for 5 or 10 minutes then.
Oh man, we get another break after that one, a restroom break. Update, the timer on my screen is how long the jury has been deliberating for the sentence for the sentence, the punishment phase of the Chad Daybell case. That's going on over there. We're still live. I'm going to turn this a little down so it doesn't just bug us with the hum of the signal. Let's see. So, yeah, they've been deliberating for almost 45 minutes now on the sentence. They might actually come back with a verdict tonight, which is super, super fast. The punishment phase of the trial went very quickly. It could have taken a lot longer. So we might have another verdict today. I think the jury probably does not want to be sequestered over the weekend, although the judge has said he will let them deliberate into Saturday. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they want that, but nobody likes to work on the weekends, right? Unless you actually have a job that pays you well to work on the weekends. Ricky, sadly, I don't think we've seen any evidence to convict him. They took too long to bring this to trial. I feel bad for the victim and her family. Ricky, I agree. This is one of those where my gut feel, I feel like this guy's guilty. It's like I get the creep vibes. I see I'm not sure that this is beyond reasonable doubt guilt. I might have to look at all the evidence again, just in a list. I'd like to hear it summed up again from the prosecution, but I don't know. I'm not sure if there's going to be enough here to convict. My gut feel says, run from this man is what I feel. Creep does not equal guilt. Our system is designed to require a very high bar for conviction. And this case, with it being as long as it took to get to trial, I think we are seeing that it probably was a political undertones that made this actually move forward after 13 years or 12 years. And unfortunately, it wasn't a development or break in the case that made the evidence any better than it was, within a year after the investigation. And he's not a repeat customer of his lawyer, despite a few wives. I know there's some allegations regarding the second wife as well out there. Not murder allegations, but there's other stuff. We're not going to go into that because it's not relevant directly to this trial, as the judge would say. Yes, it's relevant for those of us who want to know what's going on, but not relevant to this trial. We don't have that evidence in front of us. This case has pickle undertones. Moon H says, I agree, not enough, but you never know with a small town jury. This is true. This is really true. And also the sentiment of the community might weigh in considerably. I'm not from this area of Tennessee. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what their tolerance is. I don't know what the general, the collective feeling regarding this is, and they might have a lower threshold on action. We've seen juries act very differently than I would expect. So the mods, namely Weatherwatch, she pointed me to a news story saying, hey, on the Outer Banks, there's another house that just collapsed into the ocean. The Outer Banks are the little chain of islands that run on the far east coast of North Carolina. It's the easternmost landmass of the United States along this section of the country. And it's sand, right? It's a sand island. It's a little berm. It wasn't there a couple hundred years ago. It's there now. We built on it. And there are lots of houses. Unfortunately, nature does what nature wants, and nature can deposit sand and nature can take away sand. It's been taking away sand lately for the last several years. And now the sixth house has collapsed into the ocean. A fun little fact when it comes to North Carolina. These homes generate quite a bit of income for the government, for the local communities, and in taxes as well as in rentals for guests that come and stay there and buy food and everything. It's quite lucrative. There's a lot of money tied up in the Outer Banks, and the properties themselves are extremely expensive, much like you might find or think you expect to pay down in Florida. I'm doing that. But North Carolina started getting warnings. They got reports from environmental analysts who would look at the situation and say, it's not safe to build homes this close to the ocean. And they looked at those reports and they looked at the whole situation and they said, we've obviously got an issue here. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix this issue by banning the use of those reports in any decision on whether you get a building permit. Now you can't you can't have those warning reports that tell us we're not allowed to do it. So we basically said, get rid of the report, ignore the problem solved. And now the houses are falling into the ocean. It's not all the houses. The problem is more pronounced in specific areas. There are other areas that are just beautiful. I mean, they get flooded and destroyed by every hurricane that comes through, but it's beautiful. Yes, I like the Wickles. They're good. They're really good. The ocean is a cruel mistress. Ruthless, I tell you, ruthless. And no pity whatsoever. You have to respect it. So this case, yes, it is terrible. Just weeks after she filed for divorce, her dead body is found in a cemetery. Oh, here's a thought. We heard from when we were listening to the physical therapist talk about the defendant and his injury that made him, I'm going to turn that off completely, that made him unable to carry a body the distance that the body might have been carried from the road where it was found eventually. Didn't we hear testimony that he was riding his four-wheeler down there? That he rode his four-wheeler down to that area? A four-wheeler would be able to drag a body very easily. So a body might have been dumped and then moved at a later point if he did. That's just something to think about. Insurance costs is wild. Good luck. They won't insure you. There are areas that just the insurance companies just won't insure properties that are that dangerous. But when you're hopped up on adrenaline, you can work through the pain. I agree. Thank you. Whoever just bought a mug, thank you. Bulgaria. It's going to Bulgaria. Sweet. Tell Kurt about the beach survey. Sounds like his beefish. I think you would like some of that, digging into that. Nobody wants the homes to go away. Everyone in the community, everybody wants to build. Everyone wants to go and visit because it's beautiful, it's fun, it's the coast, and quite frankly, it's the best. OBX is the most beautiful. I'll be there tomorrow, actually. I'll be in OBX tomorrow. Well, the lower Outer Banks. But there are mugs to purchase. I like to call it a profitable venture on my part. I think I make 30 cents per mug if everything goes right. 30 cents per mug. But there are a few mugs. We've only got the one or two designs. I think if you go on the shopping page, you can get to one that just has my logo, or there's this one right here that goes through eBay. The way it works, and I apologize, I was actually late on the stream today because I was working an issue. For some reason, eBay and Printify, the token that goes between those two that allows them to talk to each other, just expired, and nobody told me. So I had orders that I expected were being fulfilled, and they were not because they just broke the handshake and weren't automated. So I fixed that. So the mugs are now going straight to production when they're ordered again. I apologize for the delay for that one individual. Let's see. Selena just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much, Selena. Appreciate that. Cape Hatteras is gorgeous. Oh my goodness, it is beautiful. But offshore, Kelly, I had my only and worst experience with being seasick. We took the headboat out of Cape Hatteras, a huge fishing boat, massive. I think there are 3 stories on it. And I spent most of my time with my head in a bucket. But there's a video. I'll show a video sometime. Sometime we want to get demonetized. Let's see. Where's Duck? Oh, Duck is beautiful. Duck is up by you're not far from the where the Wright brothers, the Kitty Hawk area. Kitty Hawk and Duck. I think that's up in the same area. Duck might be a little further north. I think Duck is the founding location of Duck Donuts as well. I might be spreading a rumor there, but I know there is a Duck Donuts there. Tell you, if you get a chance to visit the Outer Banks, do it. It's something it's close enough you can stay somewhere cheaper. There are a lot of hotels in the area. They're a little more expensive, but you can stay somewhere cheaper and then go to the Outer Banks on a day trip. And it's beautiful. My biggest issue with the proper Outer Banks is that there's no metal detecting allowed because it's a national seashore. They prefer all the garbage and trash stay in the sand. I'm just kidding. There isn't much. Brett Barley from OBX. He probably does not surf here very much. We have very poor waves for surfing. There are a few places where people try to surf, but you're riding a speed bump. Mostly the ocean is beautiful just for swimming in. Lived here my whole life, never been to OBX. Once had a hearing where the wife complained the husband called her a stupid duck. When I cross-examined him, he insisted, "What? Duck is a good animal." Maybe she heard wrong. Am I close to the Outer Banks? Hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on where you go. I'm not far from Greenville, North Carolina. Looks like we're back. We're about to be.
Maybe we'll remember between the two of us. All rise.
Kim, have a great weekend. Thank you, my friend. Go Pirates. Last witness of the day right here.
All right, let's be seated.
Thank you, Ray.
Yes, sir. Todd Thayer.
He's got a badge on his belt. And a pin. He's definitely TBI.
You are Todd Thayer?
Yes, sir.
Would you spell your last name, please?
It's Thayer.
All right. And Mr. Thayer, where do you work?
I work for the 29th District Attorney General's office out of Dyer and Lake County.
And as a part of your duties, were you asked to drive the route from 65 Willie Johnson Road, which was Mr. David and Karen Swift's house, to Bledsoe Cemetery on Harness Road in Dyer County?
Yes, I was.
What route did you take to drive that road?
I left the Swift residence and drove down Harness Road till I got to Bledsoe Cemetery. Harness Road runs into Bledsoe Cemetery.
And then did you make the drive back?
Then I made the drive back from Bledsoe Cemetery to Millsfield Highway, which is where Miss Swift's vehicle was found.
Okay. And do you recall how long it took you to drive that route?
Roughly 11 and a half minutes.
Okay. And what rate of speed were you driving?
I don't believe I ever got over 40 miles an hour. It's a country road, so if I remember right, I don't think I ever got over 40.
Okay. And did you record that drive as you took that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you bring that video with you today?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And I have a copy to play. And if you can identify if this is the same video.
Okay.
Is it okay if I start the video and let him identify it, and then we can play it afterwards?
Yeah.
We should be able to watch this one if the cameraman's on the ball.
Okay. Mr. Sager, do you recognize this video?
Yes, that's the video. I'm sitting in front of the Swift residence, yes, on Willie Johnson Road.
Okay, so is that the driveway of Mr. and Mrs. Swift?
It is, yes.
Okay. And you recorded this drive from the driveway until you completed the route?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to play the video at this time.
Go ahead.
Duck Donuts. They actually sell the little ducks that you see in the front of Jeeps. That's a great place to get little ducks of all varieties there.
And your beginning time is what?
It is 1:26 p.m. is my beginning time. 1:36 p.m. and it was roughly 30 seconds.
Okay, which road are you on right now?
Right now I'm on Willie Johnson Road, fixing to turn left onto Harness Road.
Oh, he just ran the stop sign. Did you see that?
Now I'm on
On
Harness
dash
Road.
cam. It was a rolling stop for sure. Field trip, we have the bus music. Thanks for the suggestion, Adam. A rolling stop is not a stop. A rolling stop is a failure to stop. I was on the ride-along with the police one time. We stopped a lady who had done what we called a California stop, which is also a failure to stop. The waterworks turned on as soon as we pulled her over. Ended up giving her a warning. That's all. Just a warning. Steve, not good legal advice. Beautiful country here. Wide open. Just wide open. Is that an ATV coming the other way? Looked like a side-by-side. Golf cart, maybe? One of those beefed up ones. Everyone's got their recycling out. Another Jeep. Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate that. I think we're driving from David's house to the location closest to the river by the lit cross, I think. A lot of trees in the distance. That might mean we're approaching our destination. Trees grow by water. They like that. Trees like water. Plus, it's hard to farm right next to the water, so the trees growing there. See if he stops here. No, he doesn't need to stop. There's no stop sign. Are we going further? How long is this? Might be a long drive. We're going to hit the song on replay. I thought he said 30 seconds. Little stream right here. Tributary, maybe. That's where the warning sign was. A school bus stop ahead, maybe. Somebody had their little barbecue cooker down by the road there. Maybe it's for sale. Are we there yet? Nancy Candy. We get there when we get there. Now sit down, put your seatbelt on. Oh, that was it. That was it.
Okay.
We arrived.
And as that video ended, were you just arriving at Bledsoe Cemetery?
I was just arriving at the cemetery, and the camera I used cuts off after 5 minutes and then starts a new file.
Okay. Is this the the second part of that same video.
This is the second part of the same video, yes.
Okay. There's a gravel road here. What is that?
That leads to the cemetery.
Still going.
Okay. I'm going to stop it here. Is the cemetery straight ahead or to the left?
It's straight ahead.
Okay. And the little road there to your left, where does that go?
It goes towards the cross.
And is that the area in which Miss Karen Swift's body was located?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is that the cemetery there on the right?
Yes, it is.
And now as you're backing up here, where are you backing up?
I'm backing up the road that goes to where Miss Swift was found.
Okay, so you backed up into that side road, and you said that road goes all the way across to the cross.
Yes.
Okay, and the body was located within how far from that area?
From where I'm at right now, not far. Okay. From where my vehicle is.
Not far is not a good measurement for the rest of us. Was that trip not far? Or by not far, meaning by just a couple feet?
And I don't know if you can see my pointer there. What is that right there that I'm pointing at? The tall thing.
I can't tell if that's the cross or not.
The tall thing. Ooh, another green laser.
There.
Yes, is that the cross? I can't.
The cross. Now where are you going?
I'm headed back to drive past the Swift residence and go to Millsfield Highway.
Cameraman, can we see the trip in reverse, please? There we go. Headed back home, guys. Short trip. Kids, stop fighting in the back. Don't make me turn this car. Oh, wait, we did turn the car around already. Keep your hands to yourself. Repeat after me. My free agency ends where another person's body begins. 5 times. Ready? My free agency ends where another person's body begins. I don't care who started it. I'm going to finish it, dang it. I brought you into this world and I can take you out. Some of you might have never been on a road trip with kids if you don't think that these are familiar sounds. Focus. Ooh, yeah. Those trees might have been damaged by a tornado at some point. This looks like a nice area. I like the hills, I like the trees, I like the farms. Kids, we're arriving at our new home. There were 6 of you. 6. Family with 10 kids here. I was right about in the middle. Let's play the alphabet game. There are no signs. Let's play I Spy. That's a better one. I Spy works. I spy with my little eye something green. Yes, it was grass. Aunt Candy, you go next. We're not on slow mode, are we? And Candy, hopefully you can talk. Nowadays, kids can't go on a road trip without having their own chargers for all their devices. Ooh, that's a nice, pretty road. That little winding driveway there. Something yellow? Yellow. What's yellow on the screen? Anybody?
Okay. Was that the end of the second part of the video?
Yes, it was.
Or was there a third video to this drive?
Yes, there is.
We're playing the quiet game. Person who's quiet the longest wins. I feel for this jury. They don't get the benefit of the music with the trip.
Where are you now?
Right now, I'm at the corner of Harness Road, and the road to the right is Willie Johnson Road, which is where the Swifts lived at that time.
Okay, and when you make this left, where is that going to go?
If I stay on Harness Road to the left, it's going to take me to Millsfield Highway.
And is that where the car was located?
Yes. Harness Road and Millsfield Highway at the stop sign.
There's that Jeep again.
And are you going to put, what direction are you going to put your car in?
I'm going to face it, I guess it's going to be north maybe, I'm not sure. I'm going to face it just how her car was found. I'm going to pull over to the side of the road and face the opposite direction.
Okay. Is he going to run the stop line? He did. He runs right through. Well, he sort of slowed down. That was almost a stop. Camera is those railroad tracks?
Is that the same position in the same direction Karen Swift's car was found?
Yes, it is.
Would you make that an exhibit to your testimony?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any more videos? Is that all? Bummer.
That's going to be received 28.
It was fun while it lasted, but we're there now.
Are you aware of the fact that there was a ping originally, I guess, discovered near the Mississippi River when this case first initiated?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know where that ping was?
It was in the area of Little Levee Road.
Okay. And did you have the exact coordinates of that ping?
Yes, we had the exact GPS coordinates.
I'm going to hand you this document, ask if you can recognize that. Oh, I'm sorry.
After you show defense.
Can you tell me what that is?
This is when you punch in the GPS coordinates in Google Maps, then it drops a pin where those GPS coordinates show up at.
And where did that come from?
From my computer. I did it in the office.
Okay. Okay, is that the same document that you have there in your hand?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And there are a bunch of numbers there at the bottom. What are those?
The ones I've got highlighted in the orange is the exact GPS coordinates. And if you look, you'll see where it pinged at, the red dot in the map itself, right next to the river.
Okay. Is this near the Swift home?
It is approximately it's not near, but it's close. It's a 21-minute drive.
Okay.
Correction. It's the 42-minute drive.
Round trip.
Round trip. Yes,
okay.
Round trip.
Okay. Are there more than one way to get to that ping area on Little Levy Road?
Yes. When I put in the coordinates and hit basically give me directions, it gave me three options on how to drive, which direction to go. It gave me three different options.
Okay. Would you make that an exhibit your testimony, please?
Yes.
This will be number 29.
I'm going to ask if you can identify this next document.
This is one of the three options that it gave me from the Swift residence to the GPS coordinates, and this is the route I took.
Okay. And I'm going to put that on the screen. If you would tell me if this is the same document that you have there.
Yes, it is.
Okay. How many miles was it from the Swift residence to the ping on Little Levy Road with this route?
16.3 miles.
Okay. And what was the length of time that it would take to get to that area?
One way, 21 minutes and 10 seconds.
And did you actually drive that from the Swift home and to that one?
Yes, I did.
Was that the shortest of the three routes?
In my opinion, yes, it is. This is the most direct route, the route I took.
And it was a 42-minute round trip drive?
Round trip, yes.
Okay. Would you make that an exhibit your testimony?
Yes.
30.
The chat thing is live over on the Top Mark channel. Jury's been deliberating for an hour and 15 minutes on the sentence.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it there, that's where it will be. We're not going to do it live here.
Can you tell me what that document is?
This is one of the other routes that Google Maps gave you an option to take.
Okay, and on that route, how many miles is it?
It's 19.3 miles on this particular route.
And is the map that I have on the screen the same one that you have there?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what was the travel distance or time for that one?
25 minutes for this route.
Okay. So it would be what would the total route be for that?
50 minutes total.
50 minutes round trip?
50 minutes round trip, yes.
Would you make that an exhibit your testimony?
Yes.
And one more. You said you had, I'm sorry.
Number 31.
Yes, sir. You said there were three different routes. Is that correct?
Yes. This is a map of the third route that it gave me.
And is the map on the screen the same as the one that you have in your hand?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And what was the distance if you took that third route?
19.3 miles and 22 minutes.
Okay. So round trip?
Round trip, 44 minutes.
Would you make that an exhibit your testimony also?
Yes.
And when you took that...
Excuse me, that'd be 32.
Yes, sir. And when you took the shortest route, tell me again, how long did you say it took for that one?
Round trip was 42 minutes.
Okay. What speed did you drive?
I actually kept track of what I drove approximately on each, as I made each turn. Starting at Millsfield Highway at Harness Road to Highway 78, 40 miles an hour and under. When I turned on to Highway 78 and drove to Highway 103, 60 miles an hour and under. Highway 103 to Great River Road, 55 miles an hour and under. Great River Road to Little Levee Road, 65 miles and under. And then arrived at my destination.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You can step down, sir.
All right, that should have been our last witness for the day. It's 5:20 here on the East Coast, 4:20.
Any other witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
Well,
Tennessee.
we made it to Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're not going to have court tomorrow on Saturday and certainly not on Sunday. We would like to begin Monday at 8 a.m., so we'll need you to report here at 7:45 by 7:45, and I need all 15 of you here at 7:45 so that we're ready to go. I hope that you have a really, really good weekend, and let's talk for just a second again about the conditions and obligations I've asked you to serve on. Don't discuss this case either with each other over the weekend or with anybody else. I'm not naive enough to think that your families and your close friends are not very anxious to know about your service. But if you will do so, tell them talking about the trial or listening about the trial is going to get you in trouble and could jeopardize the integrity of the trial. So please don't do it. Tell them that you'll write them a book when we get done with this, but you don't want to do that. Don't speak with any of the attorneys, the defendant, any family members of either any of the parties, any person who is or claims to be a reporter or media person. You may not give an interview to any person for any reason under any condition, including being an unnamed source or a promise not to publish the interview or information until after the trial. That is absolute no. Don't form or express any opinion about the case at this time. And again, as you know, there are multiple reports and information out there about the case, as well as the archived streaming. Do not read, do not listen to, do not watch any news reports, social media posts, podcasts, or any information about the trial whatsoever. Do not post anything or permit anyone to post anything for you on any social media site or internet site about this trial or about your service as a juror. Also, extremely important, don't do any research. Don't try to visit anywhere that's been talked about and that you've seen on these videos, and don't try to do any research on your computer or your telephone. If anybody approaches you and asks you anything about the case or offers their opinion about the trial, tell them you can't talk to them. Now, you've had on jury badges during the day. When you leave this afternoon, I assume they're left here. They're going to be left on the table, and so somebody may ask you something and may not know you are a juror. I doubt it. I mean, I doubt they don't know, but you won't have your jury badge on. Simply say, I'm a juror in the case, and I can't talk about the case at all. I hope you have a good weekend. I look forward to seeing you on Monday morning, and we'll keep moving. Okay? All right. Anything before I let the jury go for the weekend?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Very good.
All right. With that, we are done for the day. We're done for the day. Now, the schedule next week, it's going to get a little confusing.
We'll stay in the courtroom till the jury gets out. Everybody.
It's going to get just a tiny bit confusing because the schedule for the day for next week is different. Karen Reed is back in court next week. Let me pull up the schedule just to make sure. All right. There we go. We're done there. Let's see. Karen Reed. By the time I get to it, scrolling in mod chats, it's going to be... Oh, man. It's probably already there. Let's see. Daybell is still in verdict watch right now. Yes, we're seeing that right here. Oops, that's not it. Right here. That's Daybell. Other than that, no Karen Reed on Tuesday and Friday next week. So Reed is Monday, Wednesday, full days, Thursday, half day. So we'll be back watching the last of Brian Higgins on the stand on Monday. Wednesday, we will watch what happens on Monday. And so we're going to be one day behind, and we're going to stay that way. On the off days, we're going to try catching up on this trial. So keep your notes, do whatever you need to on that to just stay up to date. Ladies and gentlemen, start your weekends. I wish we had some good music for. Let's see. How about this one? It's time for the weekend. This is good. This is good weekend music, right? I don't know if I have any other music. I'm checking, but I'm not seeing any. I've got one over here. This is good weekend music. We could do that for weekend music if we wanted. A little drum solo. And Kenny, will we do live verdict on Daybell if it's this evening? It will be live on Top Mark if it happens this evening. If you see it, if we have to stop the live stream from, Daybell, and then they end up reaching a verdict and they'll come back, please reach out to me if you hear about that, and we'll go live again on Daybell and do that. But it will be just on Daybell. It won't be on the RA channel. So I'm just going to need you to go over there and maybe hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Is that too much to ask? It's free. It's free. It's right there. We've just followed the whole case over there. So. We need the big deal rap. That's a good one to start the weekend with. We'll do the rap. And then we'll close with the regular music. Is that fair? As we're getting set for the weekend. I hope we don't have a verdict on Saturday, because I will be on a boat or out on an island on the Outer Banks. So, where's the debt clock? I haven't been running the debt clock. Oh, it's on my screen right here. You can see the debt clock, but I'm not running it. I thought it was over here. Sorry. The debt clock is the JHatch debt clock, and I could start it up again. We've needed the live stream for other things, so I haven't been running it. But let's see. Let's do a little big deal. Let's do a little big deal here, and let me make sure everything's set up properly. You guys know the words. You can sing along. I'll mouth the words. Does that work? Here we go.
Wake up in the morning wearing headphones. I'm running court into your brain like it's an end zone. My money's green like the pickles and you want some. Don't interrupt cause I don't want your lame objection. From land t-shirts to murder, I think I've seen it all. From picking juries to when the gavel falls. The judge takes the bench and the bailiff yells all rise and pay respect. respect to the one and only go to true crime. Imitators, they try, but they just can't achieve. And when they fail, they be like, ow, I stepped on a beat. Take the stand and the jury chooses not to believe, because there will never be another creator like me. Big deal in one corner and the count in another. We've got the judge reading chat while we talk to the lawyers. All our clips go viral, they're the good not to share. Came in late, check the thumbnails, you'll find it all there. They say I'm addicted to rhyme, but it's more than just time. And the mic is hot, the gavel drops, and I'll be talking about crime. And don't you worry about the sound, cause I'm keeping it real, just like a pickle jar, but I'm one big deal. They say I'm addicted to rhyme, but it's more than just time. And the mic is hot, the gavel drops, and I'll be talking about crime. And don't you worry about the sound, cause I'm keeping it real, just like a pickle jar, but I'm one big deal.
All right, rap lip sync. There we go. I'm ready for karaoke night now. Milli Vanilli style. I hope you all have a great weekend. Really, it's been a busy week. It's been a long week in a lot of ways. It's been a long week in a lot of ways, but we are here to the weekend. We made it. We're almost there on the Daybell case. We'll keep an eye on that and see what needs to happen. But we'll do what we need to there. Hopefully the verdict does not come in on Saturday, because I won't be here to get it. I won't be here to stream it live. So, all right. RA and Weather Watch need to do a karaoke podcast episode. We'll have to do one where we just decide, look, it's not going to be monetized. We're going to play all the music that would normally get us demonetized, but not get us kicked off. I don't want any copyright strikes. I can have copyright claims. That's fine. I'll take the claims all day long. But we'll play like 50 different songs. That'll be fun. All right, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again Monday morning with the Karen Reed trial. We'll be picking up with what? Was it Tuesdays? Picking up Tuesdays on Monday, then Mondays on Wednesday. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. Until then, have a great weekend. Be good to each other. We'll see you. Go outside if you can, says 6 Volt. look up at the sky. There's probably a tornado, but look up anyway, you know. Appreciate all of you. This is the best place on YouTube, and it is because of all of you. This community is amazing. Thank you to my incredible mods. Each and every one of them does an incredible service for me. I cannot thank them enough. I appreciate all of the hard work they put in for me. It's literally, I could not do this without them. So thank you so much. You guys, have a good weekend. We'll see you. Bye.
Have them send someone with more experience.
Because he's the guy.